live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Do you think the wedding will be very elegant?
I don't know. But just like the children, I'm really excited about going.
Imagine her finding everything about the Honorable Mr. Gonzalo Murat. Just tell me that it's a fact, that they won't get married. Yes, that's right. Now go away.
You can say whatever it is you like, but then I'm going ahead with a clear conscience. Get out of my way.
Don't touch me. I came to give you this. If you marry Adrian, I will use these documents to put your father in jail.
Kwa mimi ni wewe, ningetafuta passport, nikatafuta visa, nikatafuta nyasi za watu.
Wako na baba kwa hatutaki hapa, so we don't have a choice.
Mom, that's not right.
Inajaribu kukusaidia, lakini wewe uharibu kila kitu.
Mwachaje! Mimi nikikwambia ufuate jambo, wewe unaona mimi mjinga sana, si ndio? Wewe huwezi kuelewana na mtu yote bila ya kutiana mangumi.
Seventeenth day of May. Good morning. You're right in time for Good Morning Kenya. This is KBC Channel 1. We are glad that you are up and early with us once again so that we can serve you some hot breakfast. What a day to be alive as Kenyans. And for that reason, power to the women and to all the ladies in the studio. You all know why. You all know why.
Aluta.
All right? Good morning, Jen.
Good morning. Yesterday was just one of those days. And, you know, just as you were talking before we went on air, Victor, it takes us back to the 2002 year.
Yes.
When the late President Mwai Kibaki was announced as the winner of the presidential elections. And now this for women with Martha Karua's selection as the running mate for Raila Odinga. Oh.
It's something that it's a breath of fresh air into Kenyan politics, and as she said, she's ready to hit the ground running and to deliver as a woman at the top seat. So it's time for other leaders also to take charge of that particular seat. But nonetheless, we have got a very good show for you. We have got very good guests who are going to help us just to understand what is now left moving forward. We have got former Minister Dalmas Otieno, who worked during Moi's and Kibaki's regime. We have Advocate Mercy Wanjiru, as well as communication expert, who is going to be here with us to make understand how all this is going to pan out in the next coming months. Now that we are heading to the big day, August 9th. Welcome to the program. My name is Victor Olo.
All right, and you know, maybe just hear from Ray and Doreen. Which hashtags have you guys come across? Jumeni meona Rarua status quo.
Rarua it is.
Rarua status quo. Watu waache matharau.
The creativity out there.
Man, the name tags are already floating. Kenyans washaanza kupeana suggestions. Even so for Ruto and Gachagua.
Yeah.
Now Kikuyus will say, Shagua Ruto.
Mwache matharau.
Say, Chagua Ruto.
Yeah, one I say is Shagua Ruto na mwache matharau. That killed me. Like, what was that? Anyway, Kenyans trying to make light of a historical moment right there.
But what did that even mean for you, Regina? You know, just seeing Martha Karua being named as a running mate and a potential deputy president, the first one in Kenya's history, and of course, looking at her track record.
Well, she may be not the first person to be picked as a deputy running mate for, the deputy president position. We had Ole Kiapi doing the same in 2013 and many others that have done before. But it is Martha Wangari Karua. She goes back in history as, one of the leaders who walked out on her boss in the full glare of the public, and I'm talking about her walking out on Moi. And she's quoted during this saying that it's because the president, whenever he went, he ignored the opposition and never gave them an opportunity to give a reboot or a rejoinder to what had been said about the opposition. And when talking about the opposition, Martha Karua was referring to Kibaki then, who, the late Kibaki, who was in opposition with her at the time. So when she walked out, that's what she said. And I liked what she said in her acceptance speech yesterday. I am willing
and ready,
able and ready to execute on my mandate. That shows you clearly that she's not taking any second chances, and history has judged her a little bit harshly. If you look at her history as far as the political scene is concerned, her term Iron Lady, she's lost an election, an election at some point, and her stature being the Iron Lady has in one way or another held her back from attaining her potential. But I like even what the parents said, and I want to read what Josephine Wanjiru, Martha Karua's mother, had to say about her daughter. And she says, from childhood, Wangari has always been hardworking and intelligent. We detected leadership in her while she was young. I think that's a beautiful tribute to the daughter there, looking at where she finds herself yesterday. And when we were talking about the expectations of Azimio La Umoja's pick for deputy president, there's a question that we pose to the public. What are your expectations? The issue of the numbers came to play. Then there was the question of, will the gender card play out? And indeed it has. Well, so we wait and see what is going to happen. As we say, the ground now is hot. We are running. Doreen.
I think it was just that moment. I mean, when you talk about Martha Karua, you really have to go back in history a lot and remember her also between 2005 2007 when we had those constitutional reforms, when we had the yes and no, how she was at the forefront for that. After the 2008 post-election violence, she was actually amongst those leaders that were even at the forefront just fighting for the position of Kibaki, as at that time when they're trying to get into the Nusu Mkate government. How can you even forget in 2013 when she vied for presidency and she got at least over 40,000 votes as at that time? I mean, clearly it was that time whereby even as Azimio was settling on a running mate and given the options they had in one way or the other, also again looking at what Kenya Kwanza had picked, in one way or the other, it sort of just had to be someone like Martha. I mean, this is the election whereby, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, it's an election whereby we don't have someone from Mount Kenya running for presidency. We can never ignore the Mount Kenya factor in our politics. And so in one way or the other, when you looked at these two coalitions, it just had to either way go to someone from Mount Kenya when it comes to the running mate position. When you look at the Nyanza area, we can clearly see that perhaps Raila Odinga is the kingpin. When you look at Eastern, we could say Kalonzo Musyoka. When you look at the larger Western, we could say likes of Musalia or even the Ford Kenya leader. But when it comes to Mount Kenya, who really would have been the kingpin or who really would have continued their politics in that regard? So this just had to be the way to go. Right. And also, again, I would just want to finish by saying the fact that you remember that she had been one of those persons that really were against the BBI, and this question was posed to her yesterday, even as she was conducting the interviews, what she would do, because the team had said that this is just a sleeping process, it might recur. And she was categorical and said the courts really didn't sort of do away with the document, it was the process. So if at all Azimio takes office after August 9th, I think these are the things that we'll be looking into. If at all this will be revived, in which way would it be revived?
All right, that's a good way to start.
Absolutely.
There you have it. It's 17th day. Stella is back. After this show, we'll be heading to the airport. But before that, Regina? business is yours.
Indeed. And just to remind you that we are streaming live on our various social media platforms. So you can also welcome your feedback on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. Mine is at Ray Manyara. So we start off with the news that broke the internet yesterday, and that is Martha Wangari Karua is Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party presidential nominee, deputy running mate that is, and it was made by none other by Raila Odinga yesterday. Let's just have a recap of what was happening yesterday at the KICC with that unveiling of Martha Karua as the deputy running mate.
Kenyatta International Convention Center was an ocean of humanity Monday during the unveiling of the running mate for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party presidential nominee. And just before making the much-awaited announcement, Raila would first explain how he arrived at his decision to settle for a female running mate.
After 60 years of independence, we cannot be the male domination. We cannot excuse the male domination of the executive. For the first time in the history of our republic, and on the 7th multi-party election, history is calling us to close the gender gap in our country. History is calling on us to reciprocate the struggles and fidelity of our women. History is calling on us to produce our first woman deputy president.
And when the moment to let the cat out of the basket came,
cometh the hour, cometh the lady. I have the great honor to announce that I have picked as my running mate and Cabinet Secretary for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, the Honorable Martha Wangari Karua.
According to Raila Odinga, NARC Kenya party leader Martha Karua, whom he picked to deputize him in the 2022 presidential race, is a seasoned politician with incredible credentials in the country's second liberation struggle.
This woman is a fighter and is not a quitter. This woman has a safe pair of hands, seasoned by the struggle for our second liberation and service to the country in many capacities.
Among her key responsibilities as Raila Odinga's number 2, Karua was tasked to spearhead efforts to bring to fruition the country's vision to change the constitution.
When the late Mwai Kibaki and I pushed for the 2010 constitution, we admitted that it was a work in progress and it needed some further work. Because I am a man of my word, I will task her with the assignment of completing what we started. And I am persuaded that she has the right pair of hands to accomplish this task.
In her acceptance speech, Martha Karua affirmed that she is ready to hit the ground running and support Raila's quest for social justice.
I will not let you down. I will be steadfast. I'll be diligent in pursuit of our shared dreams and ideals.
Karua also using the opportunity to thank the coalition's presidential nominee for reserving the deputy president slot for a woman.
This is our moment as women of Kenya and as men of Kenya, because they are our brothers, our fathers, and our companions. This is the moment to usher more of us to the front lines at the national and county levels.
Martha Karua did not get it out of nothing. She has represented our interests, women interests, youth interests, constitutional reforms of Kenya until this day. So the women of Kenya, you now have one of us who is going to sit there.
And as we celebrate this win, because this is not Martha Karua's win, but the win for all the women of Kenya.
Other leaders who are shortlisted for the running mate slot supported Raila Odinga's choice, vowing to refocus their efforts to secure a win for Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance on 9th of August.
Sisi wengine tuna imani na msimamo wa Raila Amolo Odinga alochukua kubadilisha maisha ya Wakenya.
We have been part of the struggle, and we came in this struggle not because we are going to look for positions, but we have come in this struggle to make sure Kenya move to the next level.
You know, we've always been brother, sister. That will continue, and we will work hard to ensure that we deliver this country to Azimio government on the 9th of August this year.
In Azimio la Umoja, we are here to stay. This is our home. This is our future. This is our happiness.
Na hakuna wasiwasi wowote. Tunajua kura injayo, yule atakuwa rais wa Kenya na deputy president wake ni nani? Ni Baba Raila Amolo Odinga na deputy wake Mama Martha Karua.
The nomination of NARC Kenya party leader Martha Karua as Raila Odinga's running mate not only sets the pace for a full-blown implementation of the campaign strategy for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance, but also rekindles the flame of the nationwide advocacy for women inclusion in leadership.
Quite a charged crowd there, lots of, joy and shouts that Martha Karua was picked as the running mate there under the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance there. Now, Raila Odinga appointed in absentia Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka as Chief Cabinet Secretary, mandated to coordinate and supervise functions of the government, while unveiling his proposed partial cabinet that accommodated most of those who missed the running mate slot. The Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate proposed Kenneth Marende as Senate Speaker and Ali Hassan Joho as Lands Cabinet Secretary. Current Agriculture CS Peter Munya will retain his position, while Wycliffe Oparanya is Raila's choice for National Treasury Cabinet Secretary if he ascends to power. Even as all eyes were trained on Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate Raila Odinga as he unveiled his running mate, there were concerns on what would be left for those who were left out.
I have worked out a program that I believe will make our dreams come true.
In a tactful move, Raila Odinga unveiled his proposed cabinet members in anticipation of a win come August 9th, appointing Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka as Chief Cabinet Secretary.
I have nominated Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka as the Chief Cabinet Secretary with the responsibility to coordinate and supervise functions of the government.
He is mandated to coordinate and supervise functions of the government. However, Kalonzo was missing in action and instead opted to vie for presidency with Andrew Leitipa Sunkuli as his running mate.
For the third arm of government, I nominate Honorable Kenneth Marende as the Speaker of the Senate.
Raila proposed former National Assembly Kenneth Marende as Speaker of the Senate. A politician himself, Marende defected from Musalia Mudavadi's camp to Democratic Action Party Kenya.
I further nominate Honorable Wycliffe Oparanya as the as the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury. Team is now complete. Ningeomba tu nyinyi wananchi, kutoka leo ndio tumeanza safari yetu ya August 9th. Na hiyo safari tunataka tutembee pamoja.
Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, a former Minister for Planning, could be back at Treasury as the Cabinet Secretary, trying to balance public debt and economic recovery.
Nimepawa nafasi ya kujiwakilisha katika kinyang'anyiro cha unaibu wa rais wa Raila Amolo Odinga.
The proposed appointment of Mombasa County Governor Ali Hassan Joho was a welcome surprise for the nominee, who took time to share his sentiments. Current Agriculture CS Peter Munya will retain his position as Agriculture Cabinet Secretary in Raila's government.
Mimi nataka kuchukua fursa hii kuambia baba hongera kwa kumchagua mama wa nguvu, Martha Wangari Karua, ambaye amefanyia nchi kazi miaka mingi, ambaye ako na uzoefu wa kutosha, na ambaye sisi sote tutaunga mkono pamoja na wewe tuweze kushinda uchaguzi ujao.
Now, that's just a recap of what was happening at the KICC there. Seemingly, Raila Odinga there awarding loyalty to his people there, his generals, so to speak. We'll be keeping tabs on what is happening in the political scene, because things are changing now with the appointment of Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka as Chief Cabinet Secretary in absentia, yet he maintains that he's going to be at the ballot. What does this mean? Well, as you say, a long day in parliament, the long day in politics is quite a long time, so we'll be keeping tabs on that. Now, the experiences of William Ruto as Deputy President had a heavy bearing on the duties assigned to that office by those aspiring to form the next government. Having complained that his functions as a DP are being performed by other officers, Ruto announced plans to issue a presidential directive to strengthen that office with clearly defined functions. Raila, on the other hand, handpicked the run-ins between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto to model the ideas of the office of the Deputy President.
William Ruto, borrowing from his experiences as Kenya's first deputy president under the current constitution, recommended how that office should be strengthened.
The deputy president under the Kenya Kwanza arrangement will chair cabinet committees. The deputy president will oversee the implementation of cabinet decisions.
And as he unveiled his running mate Monday, Azimio flag bearer Raila Odinga weighed in on the matter, but with a biblical allegory hinged on Joshua's loyalty to Moses in leading the Israelites out of Egyptian bondage.
One who will not be a turncoat in the middle of the battle or abandon post for other exploits.
Raila likened the deputy president's office to a workshop where the heavy lifting is done to lighten the load for the president.
The principal assistant is meant to be a problem solver to the president and not a problem to the president.
The position of the deputy president does stand out into another opportunity for the two opponents to settle long-standing differences in an ideal situation from their respective perspectives.
Now, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has officially ditched the Azimio One Kenya coalition party, announcing his bid to run for presidency under the Wiper Party ticket. Kalonzo made the declaration on Monday at the Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka Command Center, where he said he was tired of making sacrifices.
Well, the Azimio One Kenya coalition held its meeting to name Martha Karua as the preferred running mate for the coalition at KICC. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka ran a parallel meeting at the SKM Command Center to announce his position, saying he will vie for the top seat on a Wiper ticket.
My brother Raila knows I'm naming my running mate. In fact, from Mombasa, he came home to try to convince me to accept his choice of our sister Martha Karua. We did not agree, and I said, let's sleep over it. We slept over it, and last night we are at it. We did not again agree, so this is why we agreed that he will name Martha and I will name my running mate.
Kalonzo saying it was about time to stand firm, terming his move as one that means well for the country.
And I wish him and his running mate, our sister Martha Karua, well But I also made it very clear that if I know my country, if I know our country well, that decision will meet with overwhelming opposition. And therefore, we have agreed to go our separate ways and compare notes as we move.
Interestingly, KANU Party, which is a member of OKA, had its two legs in both Azimio and Wiper meetings. While KANU Party leader Gideon Moi attended the Kalonzo meeting, the party Secretary General Nick Salat was at KICC throwing his support to Martha Karua. The Wiper Party has meanwhile picked Andrew Sunkuli to deputize Kalonzo in the August general elections.
Allow me then to now give you my nomination as my running mate. I am pleased to introduce my brother Andrew Letepa Sunkuli.
On behalf of all marginalized communities seeking inclusivity in a majoritarian environment, I accept this nomination on their behalf.
With Monday midnight being the deadline for the submission of names for the presidential candidates and their running mates, Kalonzo says he has played safe and is still fit to run for the top seat. He now says his team will be hitting the ground for formidable campaigns. Kamche Menza at the SKM Command Center, Karen, Nairobi.
Interesting times indeed. Now, Tharaka Nithi Senator Professor Kithure Kindiki says he will take time off active politics after the August general election. Professor Kindiki, who was one of the favorites poised to deputize William Ruto in the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, has also indicated he will not accept any appointed position. The senator, however, said he will continue campaigning for Kenya Kwanza Alliance as he congratulated Ruto's nominee, Rigathi Gachagua.
When I left the academia and when I left my profession some 10 years ago, I knew I would have had an illustrious career as a technocrat and as an appointed official. That was a decision I had made, and I had been pushed by the desire to serve my country and apply my talents from the platform of elective politics. So I want to confirm that is my next step for those who have been asking what I'm planning, and I'm sorry if I've disappointed anybody.
Thank you, Asanteni.
Now with that, we cross from matters politics until the next few minutes there, where we're going to be having our political conversations to delve on what is happening as far as matters business are concerned. Now, the price of wheat has jumped on the international markets after India banned the export of the staple cereal following a heat wave that ravaged the country's wheat crops. The ban effectively puts a damper on Kenya's decision on whether to lift the ban on wheat imports from India to bridge the local supply deficit after an assessment of the pest control initiative in India or not. This effectively means that wheat flour prices are likely to be affected. In 2020 alone, Kenya imported wheat worth 97 billion shillings due to high international wheat prices propped up by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The Russia-Ukraine war has exacerbated the crisis as global prices of wheat have continued to increase due to the lack of supply, up to 60,000 per ton of wheat being offered in the world market from an average of 32,000 per ton.
Wheat from India was actually banned because of what we call the canoband. Canoband is one of the most dangerous diseases of wheat that does not occur in this country and many countries where we import our wheat from. To try and maintain local supply chains, Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, KEFIS, was to send a Kenyan delegation to India to assess the pest control initiative in the Asian country. I think what is remaining is for Kenya to be able to send a team to India, and I think the Ministry of Agriculture is working on that. Very soon we'll have a team going to India to be able to evaluate that.
Kenya banned wheat imports from India due to the fungus Tilletia indica or carnal bunt. However, the global supply disruption forced the government to relook its stand on the viability of wheat imports from the Russian market. Ban is, however, not permanent, with India's government saying it would allow exports backed by letters of credit that have already been issued to countries that request supplies to meet their food security needs. Before that ban, India had aimed to ship a record 10 million tons of wheat this year. This means that the prices of wheat flour in the country are likely to shoot as demand rages against supply. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition. Keeping up with Martha's business is that Jumia plans to set up a technology hub in Nairobi that will create hundreds of jobs and train a pool of ICT talent. This is contained in the e-commerce firm's first sustainability report covering 2021, which indicates that the tech hub would also focus on developing tech talent from Africa, just like its counterpart Cairo. Now, the report says Jumia, which has operations in 11 countries in Africa, and its business partners currently offer direct jobs to over 400,000 people. Well, remember, further details are available on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, including updates on what has been happening in Brazil, where now the government is expected to accord the triumphant Kenya Deaflympics teams as a hero's reception for finishing 10th overall in the 24th Summer Deaflympics 2021 games that were held in Caxias do Sul, Brazil. All these details are available on our website. I'm Regina Manyara, and I wish you a pleasant viewing ahead.
As campaign intensifies for the upcoming general election, what does all this mean for you, the voter? What do the candidates have to offer? How prepared are agencies charged with the election process? Join John Kuria and Safina Chieng on Kenya Decides. This and every Tuesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 as we unpack elections 2022 with a panel of various stakeholders. Make informed electoral decisions.
Kwa mimi ni wewe, ningetafuta passport, nikatafuta visa, nikatafuta nyasi za watu.
Wako na baba kwa tutaki hapa, so we don't have a choice. Mom, that's not right.
Inajaribu kukusaidia, lakini wewe uharibu kila kitu. Achaje? Mwachaje? Mimi nikikwambia ni ufuate jambo, wewe unaona mimi mjinga sana, si ndio? Wewe huwezi kuelewana na mtu yote bila ya kutiana mangumi.
Do you think the wedding will be very elegant? I don't know. But just like the children, I'm really excited about going. Imagine her finding everything about the Honorable Mr. Gonzalo Murat. Just tell me that it's a fact, that they won't get married.
Yes, that's right. Now go away.
You can say whatever it is you like, but then I'm going ahead with a clear conscience. Get out of my way.
Don't touch me. I came to give you this. If you marry Adrian, I will use these documents to put your father in jail.
Right, welcome back. And now let's take a look at what we have on the front page of our local dailies. I have 4 newspapers here. And on the front page of the Star newspaper, Raila bets big on Mount Kenya, women move, women vote. Raila bets big on Mount Kenya, women vote. Former Prime Minister resists pressure from Kalonzo to be named second in command. There is central voters put on the horns of dilemma with son and daughter on ballot. That is also on the front page of the Star newspaper. And on the Daily Nation, strength of a woman. With the nomination of Raila Odinga yesterday to his running mate Martha Karua, the Iron Lady of Kenyan politics who ran the country's justice ministry during one of its most trying periods, now stands a credible chance of being only a heartbeat away from power. That's what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Me Too, Kalonzo's last-minute entry to presidential race. As that was happening yesterday at the KICC, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka also quit Azimio and named Andrew Sunkuli to be his running mate. We'll be looking at that later on. On the front page of the Standard, rise of the Iron Lady. Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga picks Martha Karua as his running mate, cementing the ticket's reformist credentials, experience in running government, and quest for gender balance. The hard part begins. Amazing. All right, setback for Kindiki, and he says that he's still backing UDA, but yes, he's quit politics, for at least for now. And lastly, on the People Daily, Karua lights up Raila ticket. Azimio presidential hopeful Raila Odinga stands on the verge of history after naming quote-unquote Iron Lady and human rights defender as his choice for DP in State House race as they prepare to square it out with Ruto and his ally Rigathi Gachagua. I want us to get more details from my guest in studio. I have got Honorable Dalmas Otieno, who is a former minister and also running for the gubernatorial ticket and seat in Migori County. Mheshimiwa, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Victor.
And thank you for coming. As well as Honorable Mercy Wanjiru, who is an advocate of the High Court, as well as aspirant of Kiambu Town constituency. She is not a visitor here. She's been here before. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us, Victor.
Karibu sana. Let me start with you. It's an amazing day to be a woman leader in Kenya right now.
It is. The choice of Martha Karua as the running mate for the Azimio La Umoja party,
yes,
is a decision that can only be favorable to them in the eyes of people of my generation. You know, we have been closely following the rise of Martha Karua in various areas in her career.
Yes.
She's a role model to many. She's a senior counsel. And so this was not only expected, but it is also a welcome decision.
Yes.
I do not see how this can take away from the Azimio voter bloc. It can only add to it, which was a very good decision, a very good move for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga to take at this particular position. I also tend to believe that this has also made a positive impact on the previous position that we have seen in terms of voter apathy.
Yes.
Where people were not very excited to vote this time around. They now have a reason to go and make history in August 2022. So we welcome the idea. I personally, regardless of which political party I support, I welcome the idea that Martha Karua has broken the ceiling for many young women in this country. And now what has happened is that she has expanded the citizens' imagination of who should be at the leadership helm.
All right. Mheshimiwa, let me get your opening remarks. This completely changed the narrative from what we saw a day before on Sunday from Deputy President's choice of Rigathi Gachagua. Everybody is now talking about Martha Karua being at the center of everything now?
Victor, you realize that in these appointments, you look at the personal capacity of the appointee.
Yes.
And then the representative position that comes with that appointment. I've worked with Martha for a long time, and I've all along known that it was overdue. Martha should have been in this kind of position.
Yes.
She has always been issue-focused, and she had the ability to articulate on any issue she decided to push forward. What has been missing in our case is building teams, so that she was seen almost like focusing on herself.
Yes.
And that has kept her as a strong leader on her own. She would have to change and think in terms of team building. Raila is a team builder, a great mobilizer, a unique gift to bring together a large number of followers. So their combination should go a long way this time in strengthening the leadership on the issues which they will determine for Kenyans.
Right.
Right.
You've said, Wakili, that, you are a different political divide, yes, but it's a win for women in the country, because when you look at our neighbors, we have got Suluhu in Tanzania, we have got Ethiopia president who was here during President Mwai Kibaki's memorial service, we have got deputy president who is a vice president in Uganda, and Kenya, almost 60 years later, this is almost a heartbeat away from presidency.
Absolutely. I mean, it has been a long time coming, and it's unfortunate that Martha has had a career span of almost 40 years, if I'm not wrong, that it needed to take her this long to be recognized and invited to the table.
Yes.
But I think that even Kenya being an upcoming democracy, we were psychologically prepared by what has been happening globally. You will remember very recently the choice of Vice President Kamala Harris,
yes,
which was positively embraced globally, and if you were to put these two figures side by side, there's very, very many similarities to the two. Yet, I think that Kenya was psychologically prepared.
Right.
That's what I can say. Kenya was psychologically prepared for the choice of Martha as a running mate. So this can only have been a positive move for Azimio la Umoja.
Yes. And Mheshimiwa, when you have got Martha Karua coming from the mountain, and we also have Rigathi Gachagua coming from the mountain, President Uhuru Kenyatta is also exiting, coming from the mountain. This must be a double luck for the mountain, much as we're talking about the vote-rich region.
Our politics is substantially still based on communities. And the mountain region, as you know, has the largest block of voters. In political strategy, having the mountain as a partner is actually critical in swinging the votes in your favor. All other candidates have strong community-based support, then they go out to get the support of the other communities. Given the current distribution of voter strengths in the whole country, any candidate would try to do his best to reach the mountain.
So the mountain was unavoidable?
It was unavoidable, and if Raila made the mistake of not having a strong representative from the mountain, he would already have pronounced himself out of the race. But then now that they are, each of them with deputies from the mountain, the real campaign can now be seen to be emerging.
Yes.
Each person from his regional base, getting a strong presence in the largest vote block, and then looking into the other regions. So the competition is going to be intense, and possibly here is where a candidate like Martha would be a big asset to the Azimio team, because she has the capacity to reach out in terms of issues to all the regions in the Republic. She has the stature, the integrity, and the kind of support you expect, largely from the professional groups who consider issues in determining who should be the next president.
Right.
And the team can now build a following that could be uniting in the whole country and could ensure their victory.
Wakili, paint for me a picture on what the campaigns would look like moving forward, because it's now bare knuckles. As from yesterday, it's now all over. IBC had their deadline yesterday for all the presidential and governor. I hope you also know, submitted your running mate.
I did submit.
Did you pick a woman? Blow your bubble right there.
The structure in Migori is slightly different.
Yes.
Migori is almost multi-ethnic.
Right.
We have the Luo as the larger grouping. Then we have the Kuria. Then we have the Suba.
Right.
Then we have the Maragolis. And then residents who would be Kisis, Somalis, Kikuyus, and so on. So when you are looking at a deputy, you have to look at the representation issue.
Yes.
And in the case of Migori, a strong representation from the Kuria community is literally paramount. So my deputy is from the Kuria community.
All right.
Mr. Maneno.
All right.
Mikwabe.
We will talk about Mr. Maneno and you later on when we come back to Migori County. But give me a picture of how the campaigns would be, the slogan. We talked about, we've seen the memes, Kenyans being Kenyans. You know, the memes and the initials of the names. But the kind of campaigns that we are yet to see, now that is now game on. Yes.
Now all eyes are on the running mates. For the past couple of months, recent months, we have been gauging the two principles, but now all eyes are on the running mates. We are yet to really understand who Rigathi Gachagua is, for example. And so he needs to come back even to the Mount Kenya region and tell us who he is.
Yes.
And why he is justified as the UDA candidate for vice president. So all eyes are now on the running mates, and a lot in the future will dictate, will cement the people's decision on who they are going to choose, depending on how these two running mates are portrayed to the public.
It seems like most of the candidates were waiting to pick their running mates, because from the way you are speaking, it's like all the aspirants and their running mates, the whole thing for you to pick a seat to win a ticket was all pegged on a running mate, a choice of a running mate.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that it could only have tilted in favor or against.
Yes.
Or at the very least, it ought to at least level your chances, but not put you at a disadvantage. So the choice of running mate was highly anticipated, and so you only had to choose a person who could only add votes or allow you to remain as such.
Yes.
But not to take away from your voter block. So people are really anxious to know who are these two principles, so that they can cement their decision on who they are going to vote come August 2022.
Okay, you know, I'm bringing that conversation because Mheshimiwa here also played that key role in picking his running mate. What are some of the processes behind the scenes that maybe we may not be aware of on your choice of a running mate? Because you said, first of all, you have to look at the ethnic balance, you have to look at the numbers, you have to look at the history, a mobilizer, somebody with an experience. What are you looking for?
First, you would have to look at the personal capacity of the individual to be able to support service delivery.
Yes.
So that personal capability is the first point a a candidate looks at when he's trying to determine who is the suitable running mate. Then the next is the representative aspect, where you look at, is there a vote block that would come with the running mate?
Yes.
And what is the capability of the running mate to swing a vote block in support of the candidate?
Yes.
So it's on the basis of the two, personal capacity in terms of service delivery, in terms of contribution to the manifesto implementation, and then the vote block, which is the political side of the decision. So the two put together will determine who is the appropriate running mate in the particular electoral area. Right.
You've worked with Martha Karua before, Honorable Martha Karua.
Yes.
How do you describe her?
A gifted, forthright, focused public officer. When she was Minister for Constitutional Affairs, she was able to set the agenda and keep us as a team focused on the reforms that were necessary.
Yes.
And she did it very effectively because she had the capability to articulate on issues as clearly as possible and made decisions very easy to make out of that kind of presentation. I would say Martha is always focused on results that are necessary in the circumstances. So as it is, I'm sure she will stay focused on the issues that the Kenyans would like to see solved. It was mentioned that there are still constitutional reform processes that may be addressed. Of course, we said some 20% of the constitution will have to be looked at again.
Yes.
But that doesn't need to be a very urgent agenda because we may not do all of it at a go. But to be able to pick at particular issues in the constitution that need to be looked at, you can be sure Martha is the person who will focus exactly on what is overdue for consideration at any particular time.
Wakili, she brings in a basket full of legal experience in this to back up Honorable Raila Odinga's political experience. Again, she said, that everything must be done according to the rule of law. That has been Honorable Martha Karua's song all through. She was in a different wing during BBI process, but right now, she said, I'm ready to go and fulfill what I'll be given, and the mandate that I'll be given by the Constitution. It's still about the rule of law.
It always is about the rule of law because we are a country that is governed by primarily the Constitution and other statutory instruments. So it will always be about the rule of law. But on top of what Mheshimiwa has said, I think that the choice of running mate is also about a person's personality and their leadership style. And Martha has always come out as a person who is a linear kind of leadership, a leader. So the question now is, will she be able to be flexible enough to embrace not just the political aspect of, not just the rule of law or the legal, her legal background, but also the political aspect of governance. So this is what people are keenly looking at. And I want to imagine that what Mheshimiwa was talking about is very true, that in the past, people have always seen her as a rigid player.
Yes.
And so hence the hesitance to bring her to the table. So now she has to reconsider her style of leadership and encompass that there may be other things that to take into consideration when it comes to matters leadership and governance.
Having in mind that she was one of the strongest ladies during during 2002.
Yes.
During President Kibaki. We all saw when she walked out of President Moi. Something which was unheard of, and Mheshimiwa probably will tell us because he served during President Moi's regime, how tough that regime was. But bringing that point of now Martha Karua now turning it down and packaging herself as a different kind of a person, perhaps this is bringing a different person that nobody thought that should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very delicate balance for her between taking a tough stance on things that she really believes in and being flexible enough to understand that there are many other opinions that shape the manner in which this country should be governed. So there are so many voices that need to be brought to the table for certain decisions to be made.
Right.
So definitely that would be a deal breaker moving forward for Martha. And even just maintaining her position as vice president. Everyone is looking at whether the public's previous perception about her will affect this opportunity that she has been given.
Yes.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa, when she walked out from President Moi, perhaps you can tell us more on Moi's regime, because you served under his regime, but Martha Karua had the audacity to walk out with a gesture, walking out.
Yes.
And perhaps nobody saw that coming at that point.
I was there when she walked out. Definitely we didn't see a leader of that capacity walking out under those circumstances. But Martha's strategy had always been, it's either her way or no way. So she would she would put her position very strongly.
Yes.
And if anything is going to be different, then she had difficulty being part of it.
What was the situation for those people who might not understand why she walked out of the convention then?
For me, I felt that she was demonstrating a point. That I don't like the direction things are taking, and I'll demonstrate the strength of my dislike. And that was her basis of walking out. But let me make this point. As you go higher up the hierarchy of leadership, you must be a team builder. You must be able to accept that there's a large number of other people who also have different ideas. And your duty then becomes analyzing all those different ideas, harmonizing them most of the times, and then implementing the part which is due for implementation. So you cannot continue to say, my way or no way. That is a strategic error, because that is like fighting for liberation the way it was done before. So I thought that was a mistake on her part. She should be able to listen to other views as well, because you cannot go higher up in the leadership hierarchy with a weakness in ability to accommodate opposing views or other views. So all leaders who have been able to climb up must demonstrate the ability to absorb, harmonize, reconcile, and convince different opposing views, integrate them and make it one team, accommodating the different points of view, whether it is personalities, whether it is communities, and so on. So when you are rigid and you insist on my way or no way, you are weakening your capacity to lead a big team.
Right. All right, Mheshimiwa, let's take a break. And when we come back, Wangui Kili, who is a communications expert, will be joining us on set. And the conversation has just started. So let's take a break and we'll be right back with more.
Check! Check! She's faking it! Don't believe her! Hurry, let's go!
It wasn't you. Then why would the police suspect you?
Speak! Did you do it or not?
She said Jenny was the one that assaulted her.
If you turn yourself in, you'll be convicted of assaulting Shannon. Your health condition is already deteriorating. You can't have the surgery if you're in jail.
They came, saw, and scored their way to the DFB Pokal final. Germany's valiant rivals, SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig, are a heartbeat away from lifting the ultimate trophy of which none has ever won. SC Freiburg are still hopeful of winning their first major title in club history. Meanwhile, RB Leipzig have reached 2 of the last 3 DFB Pokal finals, losing 3-0 to Bayern Munich in 2019 and 4-1 to Dortmund in 2021. It is therefore a moment of truth for these finalists.
So 5 from 6 this season, make that 6 from 7. 35 minutes gone, 3-0 Freiburg. This is history in the making.
As we reveal the identity of 2021-2022 DFB Pokal champion, keep a close eye on this grandest match between SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig on Saturday, the 21st of May 2022 at 9 p.m. live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
And welcome back. The conversation on people and politics still surrounds the choice of running mate and how the politics is going to be moving forward. And now joining us in studio is Wangoi Munywa, communication professional. She's been here before. I think it's quite important for me to give her a minute to have her opening remarks. Welcome. Let me hear your voice.
Hi, Victor.
Hi.
Thank you for having me again.
Asante karibu.
Well, I guess, today is a joyous day, I suppose, with all that happened yesterday. I can imagine.
Yes.
It's gotten us to forget a bit about, paying at the pump and, the congestion on the expressway and that sort of thing. But I think it's an interesting conversation to have this morning. We have a really, visible running mate.
Yes.
And I suppose that's what we're here to talk about. Yeah.
The excitement is all over. All of a sudden, it didn't strike Kenyans' hearts and heads until that announcement was made.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think when I was coming in, I was just reflecting on it, and I was thinking, it's not lost on us the kind of joy, what that joy does, not just for families. I was talking to a couple of people yesterday, and they were saying it's actually joyous, even in the family setup, that there's a lot of happiness around what happened. It really was an announcement that people were expecting, but at the moment when it hit, it hit different. It felt. There was a lot of contentment with it. There was a lot of joy. There was a lot of analysis. People had all sorts of opinions on it, and it seems to not matter where you are on the political divide. I think there is something to be said, which is probably what we'll be discussing about Martha Karua and the price that she has paid to stand where she stands. today. Yeah.
It's quite an interesting bit because we've talked about Martha Karua for the last few minutes. But let me bring you in, Mwesh. You know, at the end of the day, the proposal of having Martha Karua's name there, we had several candidates. We had got Peter Kenneth, we had Joho, Honorable Joho, we had Lee Kinyanjui, Tarus, Sabina Chege. But all of them went for the interview, including Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, who actually also decamped yesterday to a different party to run for president. But then, the criteria of choosing the candidate, somebody would say it was predetermined.
I'm not sure whether it was predetermined or not, but I think it was a question of what kind of a person we needed for this season.
Yes.
What kind of a person would be
the keyword, the person we needed for this season?
Yes.
Okay.
Who would assist the president to set the agenda of this country and move it forward to where it needs to be.
Yes.
She was a favorite, but how I would describe Martha is that people feel the time has now come. That was the clear message that the public was saying. The time, we are ready now for a woman in that position.
Yes.
And it is coming, I think it follows the manner in which the public received the president, the current president of Tanzania. You know, it was such a warm kind of a reception, a warm perception of what a woman leadership could look like, you know.
Yes.
So it is about who we need for this season, and it was very much a public demand for a woman to be in that position. And so Raila could only have picked that particular woman, because the other choice of Sabina Chege is not a bad choice, but she is yet to be accepted as a national figure. So it was not her time then. But with Martha, it's different. She has earned her place on the table. Yes.
Okay, Weshimo, let me ask you, how does this affect the voting bloc, the voting pattern in the mountain? Because it's with almost 5 million votes to go for, how is it going to change? Because now we have got two presidential aspirants, running mates from the same region.
Initially, Azimio was already a front runner.
Yes.
In the campaigns, and as it is now, the Raila Karua combination is a combination of reformists, people who have fought for reforms, not just economic but social and political reforms in our country. It's a team that is seen to be able to bring new things into our political practice. And there lies the popularity and the outburst of support.
Yes.
That now we have it, now we see a way forward. Something good must be going to be coming. Now, the mountain region, as you know, has a very strong interest in all aspects of our society. They have been in our politics right since independence. They are strong leaders in economic practice from the region. There are also development challenges right at grassroots, which have to be addressed. And it depends now how the two teams will present themselves to the mountain region as having the solutions to the issues and challenges which the people would like to be addressed and addressed urgently from the mountain area. So the final vote determination will depend on how the two camps will present themselves and would be received by the masses in the mountain area. From my experience, the mountain area tends to analyze issues with a lot of details.
Right.
Before they arrive at a decision.
Yes.
So you cannot sway the mountain region en masse. No.
Yes.
You have to present an agenda. You have to articulate it well. You have to convince them on implementation capacities that you have. They will analyze those in a lot of details, consult themselves quite a bit, much more than maybe other communities. There's quite a big consultative process in the mountain region. After that process, they make a decision. And when they decide, it may not be possible to split it. If they decide in your favor, you have it. If they decide against you, too bad.
You live to fight another day. Ongoi, it's quite important because the way she's going to package herself right now moving forward. Yesterday we saw her having an official written speech. Something that as an activist, Honorable Martha Karua is not used to. She's always off the cuff, but yesterday it was written. Her packaging from the word go seemed so different.
I think, okay, just let me answer that in two sort of spaces. So the first one, obviously, as the candidate, as the running mate, she did need a written speech. That would be standard practice for her to actually get written speech. But that's not to say that you could tell that it was done for her. You could tell how she read it and that sort of thing. You could tell that was done for her. But that is standard practice. But let's look at Martha Karua. And packaging, because I hear she's very visual for us. She's very, the person that's very public figure, so we analyze her a lot. But let's look at packaging, really. Let's look at Martha Karua and how people have called her rigid, but look at how she has repackaged herself. I can tell you, from memory, I actually remember every single thing that she has done with, say, for instance, her hair. When she started out. Say, for instance, what she did with her clothes. When she ran for the presidency in 2013, she actually completely repackaged. She moved away from what was wearing formal office wear into a lot of Ankara and a lot of prints and that sort of thing. And we saw that. She's had a very public, image change over the years. And why is this? Because when you look at her speaking style, first, as a woman, she shoots from the hip. We will always remember I was not taught. Because that's her. When you put her in a space where she has to speak, she will speak what is on her mind. Which means that with her, you're not getting. The former minister was talking about how she has always been. This person that what you're getting. And with Martha, that's it. There's no rehearsal, there's no practice. What she tells you is actually what you're getting. And I'm strictly speaking from a communication perspective. When she shares her content, that's what you're actually getting. So when you look at how she has packaged herself over the years, from the days when she was a magistrate, to the days when she was in activism, to the days when she became MP, to the days when she actually ran for president, then there's been people behind the scenes that have helped her come to who she has come to be right now. But I think one of the things I would comment about her as an individual in her communication style versus her personality, which people have talked about here in her leadership. But I think with her communication style, you're getting somebody who's very clear on what they need or what they're looking for. But you're also looking at somebody who, going forward, like someone commented earlier, going forward will need to be very inclusive of the voices that are around her, because that's what leadership is. Do I think she can do that? Yes, I think she can. Why? Because we have put her in places. She's earned her place in that sort of arena.
It's quite interesting because, Mheshimiwa, according to the IBC statistics, over 7,000 were independent candidates. That's a huge number. And if you look at that number, the number of women who have actually got into politics this time around is also off the roof. So with Martha Karua at the front line, we are likely to see from the county assemblies, of which plays a very pivotal role in the counties. Mheshimiwa will tell us more about that. National Assembly, the Senate. We would imagine how many women and ladies out there have been motivated to take the positions.
For me as a woman, it has not so much motivated me to take that position, but to remain firmly in the race no matter the outcome.
Right.
Yeah. You know, Martha didn't just land in this position.
It has taken a year.
It has taken her many years, many struggles, many defeats. And that is what I'm learning as a leader, not just from Martha, but from many other leaders. Leadership is not an entitlement. If you do not succeed today, there will always be another day to fight your battles. And so this resilience that she has shown for this amount of period, period of time, is the lesson that I am taking from Martha. Not necessarily for me to be bold as a woman, but to firmly remain regardless of how the public treats you.
Right.
Yes.
And you see, it's quite important because the reason why I asked that, you realize that as yesterday from Mombasa to whichever part of the country, the whole narrative changed because even men had some little space in our bulletins yesterday. It was all about women. So when you look at that, and with all the independent candidates now running for this position, some of them have actually won in the nominations and they're going for them. You can imagine how powerful and how the debates will be in the next regime, in the houses.
Yeah, I mean, you know, as far as the independent card came about because I think for the very first time, the manner in which I may not be well versed with the history of politics in this country, but I tend to imagine that for the very first time, the manner in which the nominations were conducted is what triggered the high number of independent candidates. I think for the very first time we have had all political parties embracing a certain concept of electing their leaders, such as consensus. And the manner of reaching such kind of consensus was not very clear.
Right.
And I think that is what triggered the high rise of independent candidates. And certainly it did leave out a lot of formidable leaders. And it was very clear to the public this is what happened. And so you should expect that this time round, given that there is not a very dominant party across board,
yes,
and there are so many dynamics that come into play, there will be a lot of people will be considered in as much as they are independent candidates. It's not going to be party politics as much as it has been in the past. Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, is it a threat to the governance of the counties and running of legislation and passing of legislation in the county assemblies? Because, you know, from the way she said and from the statistics, over 7,000 people running as independent candidates, it's going to be a hard nut to crack even in articulating your manifesto in the county assemblies, because MCAs play a key role in the counties.
Victor, it is a serious development in our country. And it is an expression of dissatisfaction with the management of our political parties. We have absolutely no reason for having so many political parties.
Yes.
80 plus. What sense does it make? It just means...
But Kenya's fought for that space, multipartyism. We never anticipated for us to have over 80 political parties.
You can call it democracy, you can call it freedom. But when it comes to effectiveness in policy formulation and development, it is a serious weakness. Because policy formulation and development is expected to be through the parties. It is the parties that reach the grassroots. It is the parties that should be able to get the views from a broad public constituency, formulate such views into policies for future implementation under a structure of a leadership structure. What we are still having is individuals feeling that they don't see a leader there whom they can follow, right? So they want to go on their own. And here let me make a point, Victor, that it is all right to do so as an individual. But then you have limits, because how would an individual achieve representation in him as a person from over 40 different large communities in the Republic. It is just not possible. So when you go as an individual, you will find you have to reach out to other communities.
Yes, right.
By the time you wish to reach those other communities, there will be leaders under you from those other communities. And then you become a party. So you end up now stopping advocating issues as an individual and you register a party. Then we form a political party. At the next election, we break all those political parties and come back.
It's a cycle.
Yes, come back to individual leaders. So I feel we are taking too long to develop party political practice in the country, because that is the only reliable basis of achieving policy implementation based on the needs expressed by our people from the grassroots. The other point I may wish to mention at this level is the position of a deputy. Individuals have no deputies, they are individuals.
Yes.
But the position of a deputy, that is the most difficult position in political practice. Because you are supposed to build your boss, not to build yourself. The moment you go building yourself, you create a conflict. Now, there are personalities who don't have that capacity of being able to build the boss, because they have always wanted to build themselves and would be taking the position of deputy as an opportunity to build themselves.
Exactly.
Now, that would be a big mistake. The moment a deputy begins to feel that, hey, I'm lucky, I'm deputy, now I have an opportunity to build myself, you immediately create a clash between you and the boss. Even though we change the constitution to call the deputy a running mate, which gives the deputy some stake of representation from the public. But the moment you are called deputy, your duty is to build one team, build the boss. Wait for your day when you will also have your own followers.
You will feel the heat. Let me just ask you briefly, why is it so hard to implement the two-thirds gender rule? You know, I'm asking because the ladies are here and you've been in parliament before. It's all over. It's still hanging in parliament and now we are going for an election. It's not been enacted.
Yes. Politics is really short of gifts.
Really, Mheshimiwa?
Very short of gifts. So there will be no gift to anybody. You have to earn it. You have to earn it. So our ladies, we have a lot of competent ladies. And if you sit, you can see we have quite a bit of leadership from the other gender. Right?
Wangoi, you've had that. It's more not short of gifts.
Yes.
Yes.
But they have to realize they have to earn it.
Yes.
It is competition. Conflicting interest is part and parcel of political practice. So you have to convey your interest. Our ladies must convey their interest as strongly as possible. And personally, having worked with so many, they are capable. But there are challenges on how best they would do this, because here is a situation where you have a lady who is a competent leader, but actually has 3 bosses. There is a husband, there are children, and then there is a party. To be able to reconcile on these challenges.
All in all, ladies can multitask.
Yes. So they have harder challenges than the men. And we cannot blame them for the slow manner in which that leadership is being developed. But that is not to say that it cannot be done. You may also have realized that a lot of strong female leaders have lost their marriages. Because you are strong enough, you want to advocate a political position, and you forgot your family before you realized. So at the end of it, you end up being alone. So many of the good ones have suffered that in the process of developing their leadership capabilities and enhancing their chances of rising up in the leadership hierarchies. So the challenges our ladies are facing are higher than the challenges the men are facing. So we just have to be able to give them time to emerge. And we look forward to days when our men will look at the personal capacities, regardless of gender, and in that process be supportive of a female leader or a lady leader as much as they would be supportive.
I wish you turn and see how they're looking at you. What are you saying?
No, actually, allow us jumping.
Exactly, Ogoe. He's made his point.
Let me tell you, he makes very powerful points. And the first point that he talked about was when he's talking about how political spaces or parties need to be sort of spaces for building up leadership. Honestly, if we get that right, we will actually be able to find spaces where women can grow within leadership. Now, having said that, there's something, and this is such a truth, even for me, that Sheryl Sandberg, she of Meta, said once when she was speaking, and she was talking about the most important decision that a woman can make is the decision of who she decides to live with. So this is the decision of a spouse. Unfortunately, we don't take that into consideration so many times when we are looking at women in leadership spaces, because women do pay the price. That specific role, the role of being a wife, the role of spouse selection comes with so many dynamics that are all unseen. So what people see visually will be the slowness in being able to achieve a leadership status or being able to do well in the office. It's not that we are incompetent or incapable. There are tons of women that are actually the foundation of so many things that we see today. But here is the thing, the dynamics and the unseen, and this is why, when you and I sit, I tell you that words only account for 7% of communication. 93% is what is not said. I think we can say the same in leadership, that a lot of the percentages of what we don't see in leadership are the dynamics behind the scenes. Now, put women in that position, and you're looking at a woman that has to deal with, let me use the three bosses. The actual boss, the one that can actually be seen, which could be her business. It could be the boss, the physical boss that she's seeing. But it could also be the dynamic of children, and it could also be the dynamic of the spouse. Now go behind the scenes and look at what's happening. So with children, there's micro dynamics over there. There's their schooling, there's their extracurricular activities, there's what they need in terms of the home. With the spouse, there's dynamics between family relations and that sort of thing. You look at relations with her own family, relations with in-laws. You see, these are things that we don't look at as being consequential to leadership, but they are, and they're very strong when you bring women to the fore. Now, how is the price paid for those? You have women that actually break through, and they're the ones that you will see as the strong personalities, the Marthas, the cholerics of this day and age. And they're the ones we call stubborn. They're the ones that we call, square pegs in round holes. They're the ones that don't seemingly seem to fit, but really it's the dynamic behind there. And then there is those that actually work behind the scenes. And it's not that they're not looking for the recognition, and it's not that they do not need the recognition. It's that they work behind the scenes because that's how the elements of whatever leadership they're trying to navigate has to come through. So when we talk about leadership and communication in this sense, these are dynamics that need to actually come out, because we're very, very quick to judge, and we're very quick to, if we were to just look at, specifically, let's give credit to the woman of the day. If we were to look at Martha's journey, really, up until the point where she stood on that podium yesterday, it has been blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears. Hold on a bit. you know what, Wesh? Before I come back to you, we are going to take a break. But the 2/3 gender rule, and Weshimiwa has talked about, is more, the gift bit of it. You have to sweat for it and what have you. But the Constitution also stipulates that position of a woman representative. But how clear is it that women, even at that particular point, they still find themselves struggling to find themselves in between, can we say, a patriarchal kind of society we live in right now? But still, I know you are going for that particular seat as well. So let's wait and see how it's going to pan out. Let's take a break, and when we come back, the conversation still continues for the last bit. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
As campaign intensified for the upcoming general election, what does all this mean for you, the voter? What do the candidates have to offer? How prepared are agencies charged with the election process? Join John Kuria and Safina Chieng on Kenya Decides. This and every Tuesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 as we unpack elections 2022 with a panel of various stakeholders. Make informed electoral decisions.
They came, saw and scored their way to the DFB Pokal final. Germany's valiant rivals, SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig, are a heartbeat away from lifting the ultimate trophy of which none has ever won. SC Freiburg are still hopeful of winning their first major title in club history. Meanwhile, RB Leipzig have reached 2 of the last 3 DFB Pokal finals, losing 3-0 to Bayern Munich in 2019 and 4-1 to Dortmund in 2021. It is therefore a moment of truth for these finalists.
So 5 from 6 this season, make that 6 from 7. 35 minutes gone, 3-0 Freiburg. This is history in the making.
As we reveal the identity of 2021-2022 DFB Pokal champion, keep a close eye on this grandest match between SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig on Saturday, the 21st of May 2022 at 9 p.m. live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back. We are on the final stretch of the conversation. People in Politics, and today is all about women. That's why I have got 2 ladies in studio and a gentleman. Today, but anyway, still gender balance, 2-2, all right? Okay, Mheshimiwa, the point of gender card, it's out there, and I can say that Kenya is slowly embracing the effect of the gender balance, which is quite elusive, but slowly we are getting it there.
We are trying. And the reason why we are justifying the 2/3 gender rule is because we are still a very much patriarchal society, and our male counterparts are yet to accept the fact that a woman can play a role as maintain her role in the family just as well as out there in the marketplace. So they are yet to still accept that, and that is why we are still we want to prove that point, that it is actually possible. So for that to happen, we need to secure certain spaces for women to take the leadership positions, so that the men can just sample their leadership and accept that actually it is possible for us to embrace women leadership without compromising the family setups. But something interesting has come out when my colleagues were speaking, and this is that the fact that it is a challenge for a woman to balance these 2 roles. And picture this, in advanced democracies, like in Europe and in the Americas, it is far more difficult actually for a woman to be a leader there than it is here in Africa. If you look at the family setup in those areas, it is very expensive, for example, a woman to get the necessary help.
Yes.
To be able to delegate some of her duties within the family setup in order for her to go to the marketplace. But here in Kenya, actually, it is more simplified. It is cost effective for us to get helps, and so I wonder really where this threat is coming from. The fact that the family will be at jeopardy if the woman leaves the home to come and assume her role in a leadership position. I feel that it is misplaced, and if there are people who we need to look up to are the people in the Western countries and how they are doing it and how they are managing well. So it's a very simplistic way of looking at the possibility of women being able to balance these two roles. I think that argument is now it has been overtaken by time. Yeah.
I hope that was directed to you. I told you.
It's very possible. It's very possible for us to do, and it's actually possible because we are able to afford getting the necessary help to help us achieve that. Yeah.
How are we going to get accommodated? The women leaders, sometimes they fear that when they go for the campaigns, they fear the attacks, they fear the verbal attacks, so to speak. Some of them are even physical attacks. How, for example, in your own county, we have got several, aspirants running for various positions. How can women be assured of their safety? Because it's now political season and they are going out there to compete for this position, same as men. How, you're a national leader, what should you assure women leaders out there?
The violence is a style employed by some leaders, not all. Now, in a competition where you have the opponents belonging to the violent category, whether they are men or women. Some women can also be very violent.
I'd like to imagine that.
It is the leaders who introduce violence in the hope that the application of violence would help them achieve their objectives. We don't have that problem as of now in Migori, for example. And if you look at the history of violence in our politics, you will be able to narrow it down to the personalities who are involved. Some of us are born as leaders who look for judgment in the right manner, and others are made of people who want to take power, regardless of whether they qualify, regardless of whether they have enough followers, and so on. So it is the objectives of the leaders that bring in violence. And this has to be discouraged. I think we have enough legislation now to deal with it. And where it is happening in the counties, the security agencies are in place now effectively, literally in all counties and at national level, to deal with these practices. We have to learn to articulate issues, present issues that would be acceptable to people, and forget that violence may give you a position now, but will solve no problem thereafter. You are not going to continue fighting everybody to follow you. So it is a wrong practice which should be totally discouraged.
Absolutely. Yes. But when you look at the scenario we have right now, it's picking traction, and sooner or later, some of us will not even be in studio. We'll be out there, and you can imagine how it's going to be. But for us to have a smooth running of messaging out there to the people, more of them will be how I can mudsling my opponent for me to gain. But should that be the case?
Absolutely not. Like when we're looking at it, again, and please allow me to keep alluding to this, the political spaces that we're creating are the places that will determine what kind of leadership. You see that Mheshimiwa is talking about the creation of policies, the creation of formulating ways in which we will move forward will be found in these leadership spaces. So some of these things, off the step, we were just talking about, during the break, we were talking about, are we looking at domination? Because we're looking at, yes, women rising, but are we looking at women really dominating? Because then that would take us right back to where we've come from, where there was patriarchy. Now when we have matriarchs running the show, does it mean that, that's how things will work? I don't think so. I think what we're looking at is a healthy balance of these two genders within whatever space. It is the leadership space, that's what we're talking about in this context. But then how we make it safe is also by creating mentorship levels where women begin to understand that men are not their enemies. And men begin to understand that women are not their enemies. Actually, we are collaborators to make better societies because leadership in and of itself doesn't help us. If it doesn't get the society to the level where there is harmony, to the level where our children grow up in safe spaces, it doesn't work. So it's a balance of each understanding what are the communication dynamics of the same. When men begin to understand communication styles of women, women begin to understand communication styles of men, generally speaking. And you begin to see, though I don't speak like this person and they don't speak like me, there's a place of understanding. And that's how we can handle things such as the violence, and we can handle things such as the mudslinging. We can actually look at character building and mentoring, especially now, because you're going to have a space. This space, the way Mas is talking about this space being time for women, it's actually going to rise to a certain level. What happened yesterday and what has been happening within this space, just remember there's 15-year-olds, 7-year-olds who are watching all of this. 17-year-olds, 20-year-old women who are watching all of this, and they're also coming into this space. So how do we grow this space in a healthy way? Is by teaching balance and not necessarily domination.
I'm told you're running out of time, but I want to get your final remarks, and I want to treat that as your final remark. Ladies first again, Mheshimiwa. Ladies first. What should you expect from Kiambu Town? 9th of August is just, days away. And there's no time for politicians, there's no time left.
Well, as far as the decision of running mate is concerned, they are very watchful to see who are these candidates that are being presented to us. And so there's going to be, if any party felt that Kiambu was a stronghold, now they need to go back to the drawing board and actually try and strategize how they will cement it as a stronghold. It is not business as usual. After the selection of running mate, a lot of opinions have shifted. So as far as Kiambu Town is considered, we are watching closely at the two running mates. We are watching closely, and we want to know more who these people are.
Okay. I do wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Asante. Migori Town, my neighboring county, the issue of Sugar Belt and the other regions, this zone received a governor this time. It has to go to the other side. How is it going to play out this time as your closing remark, Mheshimiwa? And what should we expect?
Well, zoning is used by politicians to achieve some cheap support. That you belong here, so I expect all of you to vote here. Kenya is now overdue for service delivery kind of focus. So that you should tell us what you are going to do for us, what we are missing, and what then you are going to do. And that is what we are emphasizing in Migori. What are we going to do in terms of agricultural reform so that we achieve higher productivity in agriculture? What are we going to do in healthcare so that we achieve efficient, available healthcare? What are we going to do in development of tourism? What are we going to do in the establishment of new industries because the biggest challenge is employment for the youth. We have several graduates who have been on tarmac for 4, 5, 6 years with a degree. So what are we going to do to create employment? You don't create employment by consumption. You create employment by allocating more resources for industrial development. You set up new industries. Like in Migori, we need new industries to take care of our agricultural production. We'll get new industries out of irrigation. We'll get tourism developed out of the use of the lakefront, which we have with very good beaches. So our focus will be on job creation, and that is establishment of industries. That means higher resource allocation in the creation of new industries and management of the public services, instead of on consumption expenditure.
Okay, Mheshimiwa, allow me to stop there, and I promise to call you back some other time so that we can talk more on devolution. And we are soon coming to Migori County for gubernatorial debate. Please avail yourself. Usipote.
Subject to my hours.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Honorable Dalmas Otieno, who is a former minister and now gubernatorial aspirant to Migori County. I've also been joined by Wangoi Munywa, communication specialist and expert here in Kenya. Thank you so much for your valid opinion, as well as Mheshimiwa Honorable Wanjiru, who is also an advocate and running for that position in Kiambu Town. Please vote for her. All right, did I say that? All right. Let's talk about that particular point. My name is Victor Lowe. We are taking a break, but the show continues after this. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Victor.
Announcing for the first part of this press briefing, where ODM had won, we did not hear anybody complaining. Where President Kibaki has won, the people are echoing. This election will be won by the ballot, not by mere shouting. Mr. Chairman, we are submitting, proceed and announce the winner of the election.
Of cabinet is pursuant to legitimate elections held in Kenya, results announced by the Electoral Commission, a president having been sworn in, and as a consequence, and pursuant to the law, naming cabinet to get on with business.
But indeed, this is seen, Hague is seen as a misfortune. We are the authors of our own misfortunes. We make laws, we unmake them. We can unmake. The procedure is to seek an amendment of Article 2, subsections 5 and 6 of this Constitution, and then we can get to the conclusion we want.
Na nimesikia leo walaghai wengine wakitamuka juu ya kujiuzuru kwangu, wakasema yale walisema. Nimwambie huyo waziri wa agriculture ambaye ako na kesi ya wizi katika mahakama, aende amalize hiyo kesi yake ya wizi. Tunaelewa hataki mahakama ibadilike, sababu ikibadilika kesi yake itamalizika na ukweli utajulikana.
It is unethical to publish any report without checking with the person. I do not share any values with the Prime Minister Raila Odinga, nor do I admire his politics. In fact, I've been calling upon him to go home together with President Kibaki. Sure. Both of them, both he and President Kibaki, have been totally unable to uproot corruption from within their ranks. And therefore, both the voters of Kenya ought to be good enough to send both home, one by law and the other by the ballot. We are talking of contraband sugar, which is harmful to human health. We are told by KEBS that the levels of lead and copper are harmful. We are now asking as Kenyans loudly, where is the contraband sugar that is contaminated? Has it been withdrawn from the market? Or is the government waiting for us to be poisoned by this sugar, which is being sold as it was or is being repackaged? NARC Kenya and I are supporting the Azimio presidential candidate.
It was a cordial engagement and I very much look forward to the outcome.
Mtu ambaye amepigania haki za Wakenya kwa uhai wake wote. Hata tukimnyima kura akose kuwa rais, anaamuka anaendelea na kazi. Miaka yake yote amekupigania na wewe unajua hiyo.
Ile timu iko na kiongozi mzalendo anaweza kuchunga mali yetu. Ni timu Azimio ikiongozwa na Baba Raila Amolo Odinga.
I, Martha Wangari Karua, do hereby proudly accept this nomination as Deputy Presidential Candidate.
Welcome back. Thank you for continuing being with us. But in case you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jane Maboy. We are welcoming you to share with us your thoughts in regards to this discussion, and also let us know where you are watching us from this Tuesday morning. We are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is always at KBC Channel 1. My handle is at Jane Maboy. And should you be leaving the comfort of your space, you can always stream us live. Our website is www.kbc.co.ke, and you'll be able to keep up with this conversation. So from politics, we now move on to education, and more so the state of higher education in our country. This is a conversation that we have had multiple times here on Good Morning Kenya, just to paint a picture, of what the situation is and what more needs to be done, especially so during this time that we are transitioning from the 844 system onto the CBC curriculum, which in a number of years will also be affecting the universities and colleges in our country. To help us with this discussion today, we have Dr. Owen Gumi, who is the Dean of the School of Education, Arts and Social Sciences at Zitech University. Good morning.
Good morning, Jane.
Karibu sana to the program.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now let's just dive straight into this conversation. But first, let's start by understanding a bit about Zitech Universities.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Zitech University is one of the private universities in the Republic of Kenya. It was initiated in the 90s as a college, a mid-level college. And then it transitioned into a university in 2014. And it was granted a letter of interim authority. Between 2014 and the present, we have been preparing to become a fully accredited, fully chartered university.
Yes.
And the process is ongoing. And we are expecting to be chartered anytime this year. Very soon indeed. Currently, we have a population of about 7,300 students. We have degree programs, diploma programs, and certificate programs. We have currently 3 schools or faculties, as some of the universities call them, with the School of Business and Economics, School of ICT, Engineering and Media, and then the School of Education, Arts and Social Sciences, of which I'm the Dean.
You're the Dean.
Yes.
All right. So over the years you have been in the industry, and prior to joining Zitech, from the discussion we were having earlier, you were in another institution. What is your general overview of universities and colleges in our country from an educator's point of view?
Yes, like you have rightly said, I was at Egerton University before Zitech University, so I've had both experience in public institutions and private institutions presently. Now, university education is very critical in the Republic of Kenya, as it is critical in other countries. And over the years, there is no country that has been able to develop, to become a developed country without putting emphasis on university education, because it is in the university education that we anchor research, we anchor innovations, we anchor all these kind of technologies and developments that we see. So currently, I would say that the state of university education in Kenya is faced by a number of challenges. The most critical of them being funding. Because over the years, especially in the private sector, there has been the low number of Form 4 graduates who have passed to go to university, and the competition with the many universities that are there has made a small number of students want to join private universities. In the public universities, the capitation that they get from government has been reducing on a yearly basis. That has put a strain on the running of the universities. But by and large, even amidst the struggles, the universities are trying to push on. All private and public universities have very dedicated staff. A lot of parents and students have confidence in the education in the private and public universities, and therefore they are continuing to bring their children to come and learn. Others, even adults and working people, are continuing to apply for courses in the universities, and so the universities only need more support, and they will excel.
All right. Now, we are still in a time where the country's economy and almost every sector is recovering from this pandemic. For your institution as ZTech Universities, what are some of those effects that you suffered as an institution that can be tied back to this pandemic that we have been witnessing as a global population?
Okay, at ZTech University, when the pandemic came, it was declared in Kenya, and a lot of institutions had to close because of the close physical contact that was discouraged.
Yes.
We transitioned all our students into our online platform. Our ZTech Digital School spearheaded bringing all students on board so that they can learn from home. And so there were no students in the university for the entire period that the pandemic had had the adverse effects. And we were able to teach all our students without fail. In fact, maybe the delay to transition the students from face-to-face to online was probably just a matter of days, maybe like 3 days to a week. And we had all our students. So we did not interfere with our academic program at all. We continued. However, there are also challenges that are to do with learning from home. A lot of students were having issues with connectivity to the internet.
Yes.
Of course, it requires money, and some students would say that they do not have money. But by and large, we were able to surmount those challenges. There is also the issue of revenue, because online students will not pay the same money as face-to-face students. So there was reduced income for the university, but we were able to survive, and we were able to run our programs at high quality. Yes.
Quality not compromised.
Quality not compromised. Learning online does not compromise quality. It does not compromise quality at all, because we have checks and balances to ensure that our students are attending classes, the classes are interactive, we're able to do assessment online. We even give exams online during the COVID time. And we even now, we are being encouraged to continue with the same process, because especially students who are far away from the university prefer that mode. And therefore we are continuing, and even our current students that we have, we are giving them both face-to-face and online learning, so that they have experience. Yes.
Now, this brings me to the curriculum that we are seeing as a country. We're in the process of transitioning from the 844 system to this competency-based curriculum. And in a number of years, the first lot of CBC will be joining institutions of higher learning. But we have seen a lot of uproar, and especially so from parents and even teachers, in regards to CBC. Looking at universities and where you are as an educator, do you feel CBC has the potential to revolutionize the education system in our country?
Now, my research about CBC tells me that it has been a very successful system in some European countries, especially the Scandinavian countries.
Yes.
In Finland, which is touted to be the best in offering education, they have CBC. So it is a good system for us. But it requires a lot of resources. It requires good preparation. For instance, at the lower levels, you find that in Finland, classes do not have more than 25 students. And every class has 2 teachers. There is the teacher in front of the class, and there is the teacher among the students going around helping the learners. The facilities that are required are within the school. So the learning is within the school. So our country has picked a good system, but it needs to invest heavily on it so that it becomes successful. The uproar maybe is because of lack of understanding, or maybe because of the strained resources that are there in the schools. For the universities, where we have a few years before the students get there.
About 6 or 7.
About 6 or 7,
yeah.
Not many, few years. But that gives us time to prepare well for the students when they come. Competency-based will require a reorientation of our programs so that the approach that we take is in tandem with the approach that has been taken by the basic education, so that the students don't feel lost when they come to the university. They will be able to fit in. So currently, we are sensitizing our staff, we are training them so that they get ready for CBC. We are also reviewing our programs in view of CBC so that they are in tandem with the new education system.
And that actually brings me to this phenomenon that we always see year in, year out, where we are having thousands of graduates finishing their studies, graduating and, thrown into the labor market, but so many of them end up unemployed. Now, looking at the programs that are being offered in most universities and colleges, do you feel that there's some that are redundant and some that need to be scraped out in order to accommodate courses that are more relevant to the job market, that there's actually a link between courses and the labor market?
Okay, that is and it has been a very tough question. The issue of the number of students that are graduating from universities is because of our population. Our population is growing, so you expect that there will be more students joining education system and also being channeled out of the education system.
Yes.
With regard to employment, universities cannot be responsible for employment. Ours is to prepare students for the job market. Ours is to ensure that by the time the students are graduating, they have adequate skills to fit in one segment of the economy or another. Now, the situation in our country is that the economy is not growing at the same rate as the population. And as long as the population grows faster than the economy, and the economy is the one that is supposed to produce opportunities for these people who are coming out of universities and other tertiary institutions.
Yes.
There will always then be an oversupply of graduates who are not being absorbed by the economy. So it is really not to be blamed on the universities. The economy has to grow, has to produce the necessary opportunities. And that's why you find that even the politics of today, the campaign is about economics. We are talking about economic revolution. Every politician is talking about creating jobs. Now, until those jobs are created, we will have an oversupply of graduates in this republic. Now, about redundant courses, there are no redundant courses in the universities. All courses in our universities currently are useful. The only thing is, we have to keep changing with the trends of the world. Like today, we have a lot of technology around, and no graduate, no professional will be expected to be successful in their place of work without embracing technological skills.
Yes.
Therefore, gradually we continue to revise our programs and accommodate the technology that is coming so that we are in tandem with what is happening in the world. The issue of unemployment cannot be used to mean that we are not producing the right kind of graduates. And I always ask this question. Is there any graduate who has been given a job and has been unable to perform because they don't have the necessary skills? No. In fact, what is happening is that the opportunities are not there. Do we have companies, do we have employers in Kenya that are getting graduates from outside Kenya because Kenyans are unable to do any job? No. So the challenge is with the economy side to get the right opportunities. Staff development in the employers also means that there are graduates who leave the university, they join the world of work. The world of work changes because of the political, the technological environment that is there, and therefore more skills are needed. Universities, we develop short courses, we develop staff development courses for such people who graduated earlier to come back and get more skills.
Upskill, yeah.
We are doing that. So the universities are playing their rightful role, but the politicians of the day have to bake a bigger cake for everybody. The economy has to be big enough to accommodate all these graduates who are coming out and even those that are coming from other tertiary institutions with the skills. If the economy grows well, we will not have this problem.
All right. Now, before we take this commercial break, we welcome you to share with us your thoughts, your questions, or if you're just seeking clarification, and you can be able to get so from our guest this morning. We have Dr. Owen Gume, who is the Dean, School of Education, Arts and Social Science at ZTech University. This is all about the state of higher education in our country. Post this pandemic, what are the lessons to learn? And looking at the curriculum that is being offered currently under the 844 system, what changes do we need to make to adjust to the new competency-based curriculum that in about 7 years, the first group under CBC will actually be joining these institutions of higher learning? Questions, comments, clarification are welcome using the hashtag #GoodMorningKenya on Twitter. We take a very quick breather. We will be back to continue with this conversation. Do stay with us.
The wedding will be very elegant? I don't know. But just like the children, I'm really excited about going. Imagine her finding everything about the Honorable Mr. Gonzalo Murat. Just tell me that it's a fact, that they won't get married.
Yes, that's right. Now go away.
You can say whatever it is you like, but then I'm going ahead with a clear conscience. Get out of my way.
Don't touch me. I came to give you this. If you marry Adrian, I will use these documents to put your father in jail.
Check! She's faking it! Don't believe her! Hurry, let's go.
It wasn't you. Then why would the police suspect you? Speak! Did you do it or not?
She said Jenny was the one that assaulted her.
If you turn yourself in, you'll be convicted of assaulting Shannon. Your health condition is already deteriorating. You can't have the surgery if you're in jail.
Welcome back. Thank you for still keeping us company. Still Good Morning Kenya is the hashtag on Twitter at KBC Channel 1. This is a conversation all about the state of universities. And to just pick up from where we left off with our guest, Dr. Owen Gumi, who is the Dean, School of Education, Arts and Social Sciences at ZTech University. Still on that aspect of courses that are offered at universities, there is a proposal to sort of do away with the Bachelor of Education. And given you are in that sector, you are the Dean of the School of Education, Arts and Social Sciences. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, thank you. Now, the debate is still ongoing in the university circles, in the professional circles about this.
Yes.
It is a proposal by the Teacher Service Commission to phase out the Bachelor of Education degree. Have students study a Bachelor of Arts degree or a Bachelor of Science degree, and then after graduating, go to the professional training in education. Like the way the lawyers have a Bachelor of Laws degree and then go to the Kenya School of Law for a diploma.
Yes.
That is the same model that is being proposed by TSC. The debate is still ongoing. Now, it will prolong the period that learners will take to get prepared to become teachers. Now, every proposal has its pros and cons.
Yes.
The stakeholders, who are mainly the employers and then the employees, the potential employees who are the students, need to be consulted to see whether this is the right approach. For us as trainers, we give our voice to the policy proposal.
Yes.
The deans are saying in the deans forum that this proposal is going to prolong the degree so much, and is there going to be adequate compensation for the graduates who come out of this training? Because if the training is now going to move from the current 4 years to maybe 5 years or more, when you employ this teacher, will this teacher earn the same salary that they are earning today? Or are you putting them at a higher notch now as professionals because of the length of the training? Because it is important. The length of training is an investment.
Yes.
And every investment must also have returns. So the other thing is, have we commissioned some kind of a research or a study to show that the current mode is not working for this country? What are the weaknesses? Can we be able to address them without lengthening the period of training? Because the lengthening of the period of training has a lot of investment on time and investment in money. And therefore, we might make the degree to become less attractive to people who are interested in teaching. So it has to have a multifaceted approach, and we have to involve more stakeholder engagement to be able to see whether it is a working program.
As someone who's part of the value chain, do you feel the pros outweighs the cons, or the cons outweigh the prospects of this particular proposal?
At the moment, I would be more comfortable with the current model. And if there are issues that needed to be improved within the model as it is, that is what I would entertain for now. Yes.
And what are some of those changes that you feel can be improved within the current model to just make sure that it is more efficient without needing to have an overhaul?
Okay. Now, the issue of CBC I have talked about.
Yes.
I have talked about that. The TSC is proposing a third teaching subject, because the current model that we have is that our B.Ed graduates teach 2 subjects. So TSC is proposing a third subject. So we want to understand why a third subject. Will a third subject make the teacher so spread that
overwhelmed
okay, that they will not be able to deliver effectively, they will not be able to concentrate? Because teaching is supposed to be that one person is an expert in a particular area. A teacher of English is not an expert in mathematics. Therefore, instead of increasing the number of subjects that a teacher teaches, maybe you would rather strengthen the 2 that they teach so that they teach more effectively. Those are the kind of things that we should really be looking at.
All right.
Because increasing the number of subjects, is it that the teachers are not having enough workload in the school? No, that is not the case. Is it that we are not having enough teachers around who can teach this third subject that we want to increase? No, in fact, we have many unemployed teachers.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now, let's now move on from that aspect of education and now come to the institutions themselves. Among the many challenges that we have been seeing in universities and colleges and all institutions of higher learning has been issues to do with governance and the internal management of institutions. To what extent do you think the internal management of an institution has an impact in its overall way of offering education and being part of the education system, and overall affecting the impact that universities have in the Kenyan economy?
Okay. Leadership and management of any institution is very critical in the ability of that institution to achieve its objectives.
Yes.
We cannot downplay the role of the managers in effective running of the institutions. If we have good management of our institutions, then the institutions will deliver better results. And by better results, we mean we'll have better trained graduates in our republic. Now, there is a marked difference between how public universities and private universities are managed. The private universities are operated on a business sense, in that they look more at how they can deliver their services at less cost, without a lot of wastage, so that they are also able to break even. Because private universities do not have the capitation from government. The students who are placed by government in private universities, the government pays tuition for them, and that's all. On the other hand, in public universities, we have capitation for capital projects, for salaries of staff, and of course the teaching and learning resources for the learners.
Yes.
So public universities are dependent on the exchequer almost 100%. But the management now differs, because the management of private universities, they must always look at what they can do with the little that they have. In public universities, because of the flow of capitation every other time, sometimes we have had issues of impropriety and imprudence in the use of those resources. Therefore, to strengthen all universities, it is important, one, to have the right leadership. Let us respect merit. If we want our universities to become the best, they must be run by the best people. So we respect qualification, we respect merit, so that we have the right managers.
Yes.
Secondly, let all institutions, public and private, look at ways of operating in an environment where money is scarce, where resources are scarce, so that we put money where it will have the greatest impact, and that is on the students. Let us not have a lot of money in administration and management. We should have more money put in the students to make sure that when the students go to the lab, they have the chemicals to do their experiments.
Yes.
When students need an academic trip, they can be able to go for the trip. When they are out on teaching practice and field assessment, the lecturers can be able to go assess them with ease, because the resources are there to do so. So it all boils down on proper management. We must have the right attitude towards money. We should not look at money as a public money and a private money. No, it is all money, and it should be directed towards ensuring that the life of the students is better, they learn better, they are trained better.
Okay, and speaking of money, there has been an uproar about, government placing students in private universities. Do you think this is a valid point of contention?
Well, again, it is an argument that is out there. However, it is important for Kenyans to understand that government is not forcing students to go to private universities. Students are selecting those universities. In fact, if you go to the KUPS portal, you find that the courses from both public and private universities are displayed there for the student to choose. And I think it is important for people to have freedom of choice. We are in a free country. If a student wants to study at ZTech University, for instance, instead of a public university, they should not be denied that chance. They are not being forced. It is them who are selecting. For instance, they want to do Bachelor of Education from ZTech University. There is a reason why students would prefer to come to a private university and not go to a public university. For instance, at ZTech University, we run 3 semesters in a calendar year. Therefore, our students who are admitted together with others who go to public universities, our students will finish faster.
Yes.
Because in about 2.5 years, they will be graduating. Those from public universities will go for 2 semesters in a calendar year and a recess. So they will take longer to graduate. Therefore, a student might choose ZTech University because of that. At ZTech University, we have a code of conduct for our students, including a dress code. So some parents may prefer to bring their children there because of that, and many other reasons. So we put our students first in private universities. We listen to our students more and more, and therefore they are spreading the word that this is the place to be. And therefore, I think that it is good and healthy competition between the private and public universities. And the public universities need to wake up to this reality, put their students first. You hear of riots in public universities. You hardly hear of a riot in private universities. Why? We listen to our students more. We address their problems promptly without a lot of bureaucracy and red tape. And therefore, our students live a more harmonious life with the university. And so we will not have riots and breakages and all that in private universities because of our approach.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, that brings me rather to the placement criteria that is used. For most parents, they get frustrated when they get to that process. Like, okay, sir, you're supposed to go to university. What is the criteria what happens? From an institution point of standing, what is the criteria that you use when it comes to universities and the kind of students that you take in?
Okay. Now, the minimum grades for either a diploma program, a certificate program, or a degree program are set. We know in Kenya that A C+ is the minimum grade for a degree program.
Yes.
And then in every program we have cluster subjects. So ours is to present the programs we have, the cluster subjects that are required for the students to choose. But we also have a career placement services. In ZTech University, we have that office. So any student aspiring to come will walk in and will be advised in accordance with the grades that they have gotten and the courses that are available in the university. They will be advised by professionals on the right course to take. However, my advice is when we are advising students on the courses to take, whether we are parents, we are teachers, we are friends, the important things to look at are one, the ability of the student, and the ability will be seen from the grades that they got.
Yes.
Secondly, the interest that the student has, because interest makes somebody to be creative and motivated when they are learning a course. It also makes them more creative when they graduate to seek opportunities than when they don't like a course. So interest is also important at the very beginning. And then, of course, we must be able to look at this across the opportunities that are available in this country. For instance, somebody might want to do nuclear physics in Kenya, but are the opportunities there? Somebody might want to become an astronaut. Is the opportunity there in Kenya? So before we develop those courses,
yes,
they have to look at what is available, what is the closest that they can, and also consider that they can also do a basic degree in the Republic and then go specialize in that field out there after their first degree, either as a master's degree program or a postgraduate diploma in a developed country where those courses are available.
Okay.
So once we are able to look at all those things, then the students can make better choices. We shouldn't force, as parents, as teachers, we shouldn't force students to take the courses that they don't want. What we need is to have a discussion with them so that they understand where they fit best.
All right. And speaking of just having these conversations with students when it comes to the courses that they pick, we are also alive to the reality that so many pick a course, 2 years in, they want to change the course and start over again in a different area. And this comes in with the whole question of career development services within the institutions that help students actually pick on careers that they can actually that match them as individuals and ensure that they actually stay the course, finish the course, and maybe get a job after. How are you addressing this aspect of, you know, students taking courses, stopping halfway through, starting all over again, getting halfway through, or dropping off and starting all over again?
Okay. That problem cannot be entirely eliminated from universities, but it can be reduced, it can be minimized.
Yeah.
From the onset, if a student makes the wrong choice of a course, they will have difficulties in it. If there were some irregularities with regard to how the grades were obtained, a student can also land in the wrong course. And we have had incidences like those in our republic. However, in our university, what we have a career office. We have a placement office. We also have a counseling office. And these students are free to consume these services so that they can be advised on how to progress. We also have, every time that the academic board and the Senate meets, we identify the students who are not doing well, and we put them in a program of speaking to them to find out what the problems really are.
Yes.
At ZTech University, we also allow parents access to their students' results. And we even hold meetings. We hold online meetings with the parents every semester. We speak with them and they ask us questions so that between us and the parents, we can be able to monitor the progress of these learners.
Okay.
So that if a learner is having difficulties, we can be able to assist them before it is too late. But every now and then, you will not miss one student or two who would want to change a course. But before we change the course, we engage a student in a program of academic advising and counseling so that we are able to understand whether it is truancy or whether there is a genuine reason why a student would want to change a course. And where we find that there is a genuine cause, we help the student to identify the right course.
All right. Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, we cannot finish without talking the aspect of mental health and mental wellness. For the better part of the past 2 years, so many people have been affected in various ways. Depression has been real, and we've also seen so many cases of suicide. And narrowing this conversation down to universities, colleges, and all other tertiary institutions, understanding the aspect of mental wellness in institutions, and of course, just anchoring from the most recent incident that we have seen involving the victim, Wangeshi.
Okay. Mental health is an issue that we cannot run away from, especially when we are dealing with young people. We have seen these cases in our universities. And mental illness starts with a simple thing called stress. That is the beginning. And this will be caused by many things. There could be economic reasons. There could be educational pressure. There could be social reasons. And then, if the stress is not addressed, then it will give way to those other deeper psychological problems like depression, like neurosis, psychosis, etc. So, our people have not understood the role of guidance and counseling in a human's life.
Yes.
In Africa, because of our culture and our stereotypes, people with mental problems are shunned. They are not looked at like patients. They are looked at as maybe people who have been cursed, or sometimes like people who have brought problems on themselves, like people who are struggling with alcoholism. You find somebody say, musiba wa kujitakia. It is something that they want, but that is not the case. Mental illness is an illness like any other. It's just like a cold. It is just like a cancer. It's a disease. So, where young people are involved in educational institutions, we need to strengthen the departments of guidance and counseling.
Yes.
We also need to strengthen the health units so that we can be able to deal with the emerging problems of learners. And more importantly, prevention is better than cure. So we need to engage these young people. We need to talk to them every now and then, and we need to encourage them to open up about their problems, because many of them are becoming suicidal because they have been unable to talk about their problems. So they find like their problems are very overwhelming.
Okay.
We also challenge the parents to be talking with their children. Even if they are big, they have gone to university and so on, they are still their children. They need to be talked to. Parents need to share their own life experiences with them so that they understand they are not the first to face these problems, and there are ways of dealing with these problems. So once we encourage free talk between our young people and the professionals, their teachers, their lecturers, their parents, we will have less and less of these problems.
All right. Now, remember, the hashtag is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. I appreciate those of you who have sent in messages. And there's one, Joseph Baraza. And from this particular message, I'm presuming you're part of the value chain, because he's asking you speak about the aspect of funding in universities, because he says universities are broke. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, we have been reading in the media, so it is something that is in the public domain. And I will reiterate what I had said previously, that we need to do three things. One, the government needs to relook at the funding model of universities.
Yes.
Secondly, better management of resources within the universities. When the resources land there, they have to be used properly. And three, we have to look at students' funding. Because students need tuition, they need upkeep. We need to increase their access to help and the amount of money they can be able to get there, so that we can have students who are more comfortable in the universities. Yes.
All right. Another question from Galib is asking, why is there always this animosity between public universities and private universities?
There is no animosity. In fact, we work very cordially. In fact, you are going to find that many of us lecturers, we teach across universities. You find somebody employed in a private university is doing part-time work in a public university and vice versa. You also find that we are moving across. Like I crossed over from a public institution to a private institution, and the vice versa is also happening. So there is no animosity. Probably there could be one or two areas where we might differ, or we might have some few hiccups, but really there is no animosity, and we are not in competition. We are actually in complementation. We complement each other. Just like the way you have public schools and private schools, and the parents have the freedom of choice where to take their children, because the government cannot be able to handle all the services in the country. It creates opportunities for investors to come up with private institutions like the universities to complement what the government is doing. So there is really no animosity. We work very well. We attend conferences together. We are doing joint researches. We are doing a lot of things together. Okay. So there is absolutely no animosity. Maybe a misunderstanding could be there, a misconception, yes. But we have no animosity.
All right, so that goes to you, Galib. There is no animosity between public universities and private universities. There's also Gerono who is pointing out, I'm paraphrasing this, pointing out the aspect of universities being over-glorified against smaller institutions, and yet there are so many people who cannot afford to go to universities, and this smaller tertiary institution can accommodate them for shorter courses. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, there is no over-glorification of universities. University education is important, just like middle-level education and training is also important. In this country and all over the world, we will need intellectuals who will be trained at the universities. We'll need highly trained personnel, and everybody will have their own place. And we will also need technicians. We will need technical people who will be trained at the middle-level colleges. It should not be about who is glorified or not, because the glory should be about productivity. It should not be about the institution. So we should be able to balance that. Yes, we have people who go to university. We also have people who go to other tertiary TVETs, and there are also people who go at the very lower level, certificate and artisan courses. All these people are very important. For instance, if you have this building, the people who built this building, it was drawn by an architect. It was, the structures were done by an engineer. But there were those people, those masons and the casual people who came to carry the stone from one place to another, put a plumb line on the line to make sure the wall is okay. Yes. All these people are important. You cannot say that the architect is over-glorified. But you see, the mason could not have been able to draw this structure, but the architect did. So we all complement one another. When I look at the world like a garden of beautiful flowers, they are not all of the same color, shape, or even size. But when they are together, they are all beautiful. So the universities, the TVETs, and the students that we train in all those institutions together, they will make the economy to grow. None of them is more important than the other. But you cannot eliminate one at the expense of the other.
Yes. All right. Now, finally, Cynthia Bahati has brought in the aspect of sensationalization, especially during this political year that we are in. And maybe from where you stand, what role do you think institutions of higher learning can play to just make sure that the youth, who most of them are in this institution, are not, carried away by the politicking of the day and sensationalized and ultimately ending up being the ones that are being used to perpetrate violence?
Okay. Universities have a very critical role because it is in the universities where research is conducted and disseminated to the people. And even currently in Kenya, our universities are very much involved in matters of peace as we gear towards the elections.
Yes.
Mount Kenya University this month is holding a peace conference for the Republic to bring together stakeholders to see how we can be able to have a peaceful country before the elections, during the elections, and after the elections.
Yes.
And many universities are contributing to that conference. We are also talking to our students, and we are encouraging them to participate in the elections by working for IEBC, by voting, those that are 18 and above, and most of them are, and not to be used by politicians to do that work for them. And we are appealing also to the politicians that because they are also parents, they should be able to mentor our university students. So they should not use them. They should not give them money to cause violence or to cause booing of their opponents and so on.
Okay.
We are encouraging our students to be mature, to be at that level where if the intellectual level has placed them at the university level, their actions should be in tandem with that.
All right.
Yes.
So I think that's a very good place to close this conversation, because politics is something that we cannot avoid, and especially so during this year and just less than 3 months to the general elections. Now, we have been speaking with Dr. Owen Ngumi. He is the Dean, School of Education, Arts and Social Sciences at ZTech University, just sharing his thoughts on the state of higher education in Kenya. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. That brings us to a close of Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for being with us through and through. We will be back tomorrow morning. For now, do have a lovely day. I am Jane Omboy.
They came, saw, and scored their way to the DFB Pokal final. Germany's valiant rivals, SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig, are a heartbeat away from lifting the ultimate trophy of which none has ever won. SC Freiburg are still hopeful of winning their first major title in club history. Meanwhile, RB Leipzig have reached 2 of the last 3 DFB Pokal finals, losing 3-0 to Bayern Munich in 2019 and 4-1 to Dortmund in 2021. It is therefore a moment of truth for these finalists.
So 5 from 6 this season, make that 6 from 7. 35 minutes gone, 3-0 Freiburg. This is history in the making.
As we reveal the identity of 2021-2022 DFB Pokal champion, keep a close eye on this grandest match between SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig on Saturday, the 21st of May 2022 at 9 p.m. live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Check! Check!
She's faking it! Don't believe her! Hurry, let's go.
It wasn't you. Then why would the police suspect you? Speak! Did you do it or not?
She said Jenny was the one that assaulted her.
If you turn yourself in, you'll be convicted of assaulting Shannon. Your health condition is already deteriorating. You can't have the surgery if you're in jail.
Kwa mimi ni wewe, ningetafuta passport, nikatafuta visa, nikatafuta nyasi za watu.
Wako na babako hatutaki hapa, so we don't have a choice. Mom, that's not right.
Inajaribu kukusaidia, lakini wewe uharibu kila kitu. Achaje! Mwachaje! Mimi nikikwambia ni ufuate jambo, wewe unaona mimi mjinga sana, si ndio? Wewe huwezi kuelewana na mtu yote bila ya kutiana mangumi.
as mentioned, today it's a conversation all about cancer to understand where we are as a country. And as mentioned earlier on, we have with us Dr. Catherine Nyongesa. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. Tell us a bit about your background when it comes to cancer treatment.
We do follow the international cancer treatment guidelines, and more so we even have our own local cancer treatment guidelines. So we really follow science in giving treatment. So basically we stage the cancer to know what stage it is, and then what is the best treatment recommended. Putting in mind, we always have also multidisciplinary care, whereby we involve other disciplines in discussing the patient and giving the best way forward. One of the treatment includes surgery. You can give radiotherapy or chemotherapy, and sometimes a patient may have all the three treatments in a special sequence, depending on the type of the cancer and the stage of the cancer, and even the patient's preferences.
All right. Now tell us a bit about the situation, when you were setting up this beautiful institution in line with the fight against cancer. Where were we as a country when you were setting up, and just looking at the journey and how far we have come in the number of years we have been working?
So I look at it more than 10 years ago. To be precise, it was in 2020. And at that time, 2010, sorry. Yes. And at that time, we had very few cancer centers in the country. Patients had to wait for months. In fact, it was only mainly one public center that was offering affordable treatment. So patients had to wait for many months or travel long journey before they can get access to cancer care. And I remember one of the patients asked me, "Doctor, why are you giving me an appointment for 6 months down the line? What will happen to me 6 months to come?" So I said, probably instead of just waiting and lamenting, I took a step forward to see if we can set up a center that could bridge part of that gap. And at that time, I thank God, because the center came in handy and bridged that gap of delay in seeking care. We are able to offer timely chemotherapy, and later we had acquired the radiotherapy machine, so radiotherapy was also given in a timely manner. And I can just be grateful to God because of the success stories that we have had of the patients who've been treated and got better after our care. And there are times when the cancer patients present a bit too late, and all you can do is probably just manage and keep them comfortable. Some of them succumb to the disease, but we always try our level best to assist the patient to improve the quality of life.
All right. Now, Dr. Catherine, when we talk about cancer, for most people, we equate cancer to a death sentence because we might not really understand the context of which cancer really is. So maybe you could tell us a bit about, when we talk about cancer, medical speaking, what is it?
So cancer is a complex disease. It's just not one disease. And when you talk about cancer, it really depends on the site. Where does it come from? The age of the patient, the stage of the cancer, the type. You can even have breast cancer, but there are different subtypes of breast cancer. So all those makes it quite complex. But in summary, it is a disease which cells in the body undergo mutation, or they undergo a change. And with this change, they start multiplying without ceasing and form either a mass, a lump, or a growth. And this growth sometimes can spread to other parts of the body through blood stream or through lymphatic system. And it can also go in the bone marrow in the case of blood cancer. And with this, it brings its own challenges to the body because of the spreading. It can damage some of the organs. Patients can have bleeding. The cancer can bleed when it bursts or ulcerates. And also they can have pain where the cancer is.
All right. And what is the difference between the benign cancer and the malignant forms of cancer?
So the The benign one is actually not cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, a benign one has no potential to spread. It cannot spread. Okay. So then that is not a cancer. Cancerous growths have potential to spread to other parts of the body and even destroy the area they have spread to.
Okay. Now, here in Kenya, cancer has been listed as the third leading form of, rather, cause of diseases, cause of death. That is after infectious diseases and cardiovascular diseases. And let's just start by understanding, looking at the genders in this particular case. When it comes to men, which are the most common forms of cancers that have been identified?
So in our country, as you rightly mentioned, cancer is the third leading cause of death. 60% of these cancers are actually reported in women and only 40% in men. When now we break it down to the men, the common cancers are prostate cancer, esophageal cancer and throat cancers, and then now we have the colon or the digestive system cancers. Okay. Yeah. When we come to women, we see breast is leading, followed by cervical cancer, and then others include the throat cancers. Yeah.
All right. Now, when it comes to public awareness, how are we doing as a country? Because for most of the cancer cases that I've been able to interact with, we always find people seeking treatment when it has developed to the further stages where treatment becomes a challenge. How is awareness contributing to all this?
So awareness is a challenge. I would say we still not yet there. Our government has tried. We do have the national cancer screening guidelines, trying to even educate community healthcare workers to pick up the common symptoms about cancer, and still the reach or the penetration to the community is still very low. The awareness, I would say, is just around 10%. So we still have a lot of work to do as a country to educate the members of the public about the common signs of cancer, because cancer, the chances of cure is higher when it's detected early, and it becomes very difficult to cure cancer if it is detected late, or sometimes patients they are not aware that they have cancer, so that leads to delay in diagnosis, or worse so, inaccessible medical health assistance that is quite timely. So all that leads to a patient being delayed in diagnosis, and that ultimately translates into a poorer outcome and even expensive treatment. So cancer is really cheap to treat when it's early, and more expensive and more complicated to treat when it's late, because at that time also we have a lot of cancer-related complications that arise from the spreading of the cancer.
Dr. Catherine, are there any known causes of cancer?
Thank you. Cancer, majority of the times, we don't know the cause. We can say they are sporadic. So you'll go in the community, dig in the family history, and you'll not find anyone with cancer. So you are like the first one presenting with that cancer in your family, and like you get shocked. So there are some identifiable risk factors for cancer. We've seen, if we look in our community, we see that women are more prone to cancer. So just being a woman is a higher risk. Yeah, and then the other thing is the age. We see most of the cancers are in people older than 40 years. Then use of tobacco and alcohol increases the risk. Infective agents, for example, hepatitis B can cause liver cancer. HPV will bring about cervical cancer. And then we have EBV, some viruses or flu-like viruses, which can bring throat cancer in patients.
Now, that brings me actually to childhood cancers. In the recent years, we've been seeing more and more cases of childhood cancer being reported. Is this something that is also being noticed by medics in your space, or what is actually the main cause of childhood cancers?
So childhood cancer is rare in our country. In fact, about 3,000 new cancer cases every year compared to 42,000 in adults. So it is a rare disease. Unlike the causes of childhood cancer, I mean, for adults, they like smoking, use of alcohol. Children have none of those. So we suspect that it could be also sporadic, where the cells just undergo mutation and start multiplying abnormally. We know that children are growing and their cell multiplication is very fast, trying to differentiate into different organs to mature, and something can go wrong somehow. We also do have inheritance of some genetic mutations. For example, we call the retinoblastoma gene, which can predispose a child to bone cancers and even eye cancers. This can run in the family. We have other genetic mutation, we call them we call it xeroderma pigmentosa, where a child is just prone to getting skin cancer. This is also still transmitted genetically. And then we also encourage that when women are pregnant, they should not involve themselves in use of tobacco, alcohol, or even undergo radiation exposure, because they'll expose the unborn fetus to radiation. Also, we encourage women to only use medicines approved by the doctor and not just to take just medicines without any special guidance. The doctor should advise them if it is safe to use it in pregnancy.
Right.
Also, eating soil. I see a lot of women in the village, chewing soil, and you don't know what chemicals are in that soil, and it can be absorbed and affect the fetus, and in future can bring other diseases, including cancer.
All right. Tuache kusema ni mtoto anataka mawe.
Ati anataka mawe. Hapana. Because there are some minerals you are eating in that soil, which may be carcinogenic. Yeah.
And you don't know. Now, that brings me to now the signs and symptoms that, we might not be aware to or alive to, that could actually be pointing to one cancer or the other. Tell us a bit about those general signs that we need to look out for.
Okay, so cancer generally will present with more than one sign or symptom. It will be a collection of them. But I'll just mention a few of the general ones, like weight loss.
Sudden weight loss?
Sudden weight loss, and it's unintentional. You're actually not like working out, but your pain is your weight is just going. You can have a lump or a growth that is progressively increasing in size. It may be painful or non-painful. Change in bowel habits, change in like you go to pass urine, you'll have blood in urine, bleeding from the body of unexplained cause, and then I would say coughing that just persistent, it doesn't go away despite treatment, and if we just narrow down to the common cancers, say breast cancer, you'll have a lump in the breast, lymph nodes in the armpits, you could have around the collarbone area. That lump can burst through the skin. Sometimes you have like pudorangine. That's an orange peel-like appearance of your breast. It's swollen and it looks like it's an orange or an onion, those pins inside the skin of the breast. So that is a bit worrying. If it is cervical cancer, women will present with abnormal bleeding, pain on having intercourse, abnormal vaginal discharge. This is just one of the commonest symptoms. If we look at men with prostate, they'll have difficulties in shedding, micturition, a weak stream, or passing urine. Sometimes the urine can get blocked, it doesn't come out easily. They strain a lot. If we look at throat cancer, you'll have a hoarse voice, soreness in the throat, difficulties in swallowing, and weight loss. These are just some of the common symptoms. But having said this, we know that these are generally symptoms that occur even with infections. Most of these symptoms actually occur with other diseases. They occur with infections, even with cardiovascular diseases. So for you to pinpoint and say it is cancer, the symptoms should be persisting at least for more than 2 weeks. And it will need a medical diagnosis. The doctor will have to confirm by doing a biopsy or taking a tissue from the growth or from the blood to confirm that it is cancer.
What about in children? Because like you mentioned, we see the eye cancers, blood cancers, and especially in children. Are there any common symptoms that we can be able to look out for and know that this could be a telltale sign?
So cancer is a great mimicker in children. In fact, it mimics all the infections a child can get. For example, with the lymphomas, they'll present with swollen glands in the neck. This is also common in flus. They can present with gum bleeding, nose bleeding. If they have blood cancer, they'll have bone pains, joint pains. You'll find a child just not playing the way they're supposed to play. All the time they run out, play a little bit, they come to lie down, they say, "Oh, Mama, I'm tired." "Oh, teacher, please, I'm tired, excuse me, I can't play." They don't want to eat. They may have abnormal growths or swelling on their body. So you have to really be on the lookout. And if a parent has a high index of suspicion that this child is not well, despite treatment for infections, they need to take this child to be seen by a pediatrician who will take history, examine the child thoroughly, and try to look out for other issues which could be cancer. Because in children, 1 in 8,000 will have cancer. So it is very hard to pick this cancer in children, and unless it is somebody who a good doctor who can really examine the child and try to have a high index of suspicion to differentiate between cancer and infection. But majority of the things we see in children are actually of infection, and they can be managed, and within a week or two the child is up and about running. But when it's persistent for extended period of time, then it will be good to be screened for cancer.
All right. Now that brings me to the treatment options that are available when it comes to cancer treatment, and especially here in the Kenyan space, and also just what you offer here at Texas Cancer.
So in the Kenyan space, we follow science. We really try to embrace multidisciplinary care, because cancer is a complex disease. So not just one doctor can manage. It involves all the way from the nurse, the nutritionist, the counselor, the doctor, who could be a surgeon, an oncologist. We have medical physicists, we have radiotherapists, you have radiologists. So it is a whole, I cannot even name all of them. But for you to confirm cancer, number one is you need a tissue diagnosis. So the tissue will be taken to the lab, and the pathologist will be involved at that point in time. Once they confirm it's cancer, the patient will go back to the doctor, who will try to know what stage it is. Based on the stage, if it is early stage, surgery will be recommended. So the surgeons will come into play.
And which stages are these?
So we have early and late stage. Early stage is stage 1 and 2, where the cancer has not spread further, and then stage 3 and 4 when the cancer has spread. And generally with stage 4, it means it has gone to distant sites. Maybe it started in the breast, now you have it in the lung, in the liver, so distant spread. So as I mentioned, for stage 1 and 2, most of the patients will need surgery, so the surgeon is involved. And then when you come to stage 3, now there it's a combination. The surgeon may say, I think you need to reduce this disease by giving chemotherapy, then I can operate. So you have to involve the medical or clinical oncologist in that aspect. And then when it's stage 4, you'll find now the primary treatment will be chemotherapy, so you'll involve the medical or clinical oncologist. But surgery still may come in to relieve some of the distressing symptoms like bone pain. Maybe there's a broken bone somewhere, needs to be fixed. So really it is multidisciplinary. And in summary, the treatment could be surgery, which involves cutting or removing the tumor. You can use chemotherapy, where we give drugs either orally through the mouth or through the vein. We also have immunotherapy, we have targeted therapy. So there are a lot of developments in the chemotherapy space. And then radiation therapy is using machines to treat cancer. These are X-ray equipments. And in our country, I would say we have really grown in the past 10 years. We have all these treatments available. in the country. We have national cancer centers offering all the three. We have county hospitals offering, say, surgery and chemotherapy. So there's a lot of growth, and I'm just seeing more and more growth in the coming years. We are training doctors to try and bridge the gap, because we had very few oncologists. So now our local universities are training doctors, they are training clinical officers in oncology, nurses in oncology, medical physicists, radiotherapists, pathology. You know, there's just a lot that is going on in this space, including even the infrastructure.
Multidisciplinary.
Yes.
Now, on the other hand, when it comes to the growth that we have seen as a country, the finances always become an issue for many Kenyans when it comes to seeking treatment. And for some, they've actually said that, you know, finances are the reason as to why we have not sought treatment. What can be done, or just paint for us a picture when it comes to the financial obligation that comes into play in cancer treatment?
So the financial burden for cancer care is high. One, because of the multidisciplinary care. You know, it's not like malaria. You go to the GP in the peripheral hospital, they treat you and you are home and dry.
Yes.
Cancer involves all those disciplines I've talked about, and there's cost to it. The cost also goes to the navigation part, where you have to navigate from the counties. You know, probably you're being treated for infections, then they discover it's cancer. Already there's money spent on trying to establish the diagnosis. So, and then from there now you come now to the actual treatment after staging. So the cost is quite complex, and it is involving, I would say, NHIF has come in to give relief to these patients, because what I know is they can pay for your surgery in the county hospitals and even in the national hospitals, and some of the private hospitals, they give relief. NHIF can pay for chemotherapy, radiotherapy. So it is much better, I would say, since NHIF started supporting patients. This is like, it's been like almost 5 years. Okay. Things are much better, but it is not yet a comprehensive cover. So patients still also need to take responsibility. You know, this is what the government can do for you, but also as Kenyans, we need to do things for ourselves. Like, we need to invest in our health. As we invest in education, you could have a public insurance, that is NHIF, but at the same time, if you can afford, you can apply for a private insurance, so that your family is cushioned in all aspects. Yeah. You can have a private insurance to top up. And also, as Kenyans, let's not wait when we are sick to enroll. We encourage people to get a medical insurance, even if it's the NHIF. Just enroll and have the card ready, just in case you get sick and you need help in terms of finances.
Now, as we bring the conversation to a close, as part of the value chain, as a stakeholder, would you say that we have an enabling environment in terms of policies here in our country, given health is a devolved ministry? How is the environment enabling you as a practitioner, as a part of the value chain, to ensure that you're giving the best to the common man and each and every patient you interact with?
I think from the government perspective, I always believe the government is you and me, so we are all part of the government, being a Kenyan. And then there's a political goodwill. Our current president has put health as one of the big four agenda. So already that puts health in a step ahead in terms of attention. Though we still have a lot to be done, because cancer care is complex, and the infrastructure, the human resource is all costly. And I would say probably our government need to give like soft loans to health institutions to strengthen them, like to be able to build good infrastructure, to be able to offer this very essential cancer treatment or cancer care service. I've seen, I would say in the past few years, we already have big national centers. The government has invested in those big national centers like MTRH, Kenyatta University, Kenyatta Hospital. So there's so much positivity, and all I would say is that the government should continue providing an enabling environment for this kind of healthcare growth to go on.
All right. And for those that may be seeking treatment, what services do you offer here at Texas?
So here we basically offer cancer treatment. We offer from diagnosis of cancer, screening, then we have chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and on chemotherapy we offer a whole range of chemotherapeutic agents like the conventional chemo, the targeted therapy, immunotherapy, and all that. We also have outpatient services, inpatient services. We treat thyroid cancer using what we call radioactive iodine. This is radiation that a patient ingests to treat the cancer in the neck from the thyroid. We also do have a pharmacy and laboratory, just to mention a few of our services.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us today. How can we find you on social media?
So you can find me as Dr. Catherine Nyongesa. Even Texas Cancer Center is also on social media. You can also go online, Google us, drop us an email on info@texascancercenter.co.ke.
And there you have it. Cancer is a problem, but it is treatable if it is detected early. If you have the opportunity, go get screened, address those symptoms before they now become full-blown cancer, and by that you'll be able to avoid the whole situation. We have been speaking with Dr. Catherine Nyongesa. She is a clinical oncologist as well as the founder of the Texas Cancer Center here in Nairobi. I am Jen Romboy. Thank you for being with us today.
They came, saw and scored their way to the DFB Pokal final. Germany's valiant rivals, SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig, are a heartbeat away from lifting the ultimate trophy of which none has ever won. SC Freiburg are still hopeful of winning their first major title in club history. Meanwhile, RB Leipzig have reached 2 of the last 3 DFB Pokal finals, losing 3-0 to Bayern Munich in 2019 and 4-1 to Dortmund in 2021. It is therefore a moment of truth for these finalists.
So 5 from 6 this season, make that 6 from 7. 35 minutes gone, 3-0 Freiburg. This is history in the making.
As we reveal the identity of 2021-2022 DFB Pokal champion, keep a close eye on this grandest match between SC Freiburg and RB Leipzig on Saturday, the 21st of May 2022 at 9 p.m. live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Kwa mimi ni wewe, ningetafuta passport, nikatafuta visa, nikatafuta nyasi za watu.
Wako na baba kwa hatutaki hapa, so we don't have a choice. Mom, that's not right.
Inajaribu kukusaidia lakini wewe uharibu kila kitu. Achaje? Mwachaje? Mimi nikikwambia ufuate jambo, wewe unaona mimi mjinga sana, si ndio? Wewe huwezi kuelewana na mtu yote bila ya kutiana mangumi.
Hii ni Mitikasi Leo, makala kutoka BBC. Yaliyomo tunapiga jicho sekta ya madini barani Afrika na athari za mgogoro wa Ukraina Urusi kwa tasnia hiyo. Baadaye mbivu na mbichi ya ni nani atakaye kuwa rais wa Somalia kujulikana tarehe 15 mwezi huu. Kisha tunadadisi jinsi biashara zinavyoendelea kuimarika baada ya hali ngumu iliyosababishwa na janga la corona. Moja kwa moja kutoka Nairobi, Kenya. Twende kazi. Hujambo pote ulipo, karibu kwa toleo la leo. Makala yanaangazia habari za biashara zinazokuhusu, uchambuzi wa kina na mahojiano. Langu jina ni Linus Moshigadi. Tuanze taarifa zetu kutoka kusini mwa Afrika ambapo kongamano la madini Indaba linatarajiwa kung'oa nanga Jumatatu wiki ijayo nchini Afrika Kusini. Kongamano hilo la siku 4 ambalo ni la kwanza kufanyika moja kwa moja tangu mlipuko wa virusi vya corona limewavutia zaidi ya wataalam wa madini 6,000, likitoa fursa kwa wadau kujadili nafasi za uwekezaji zinazojitokeza kwa Afrika sawa na kuvutia uwekezaji nje ya bara. Kando na hayo, kongamano hilo linatarajiwa kujadili athari za mgogoro wa Ukraina Urusi, kawi na upatikanaji wake kote duniani na matumizi ya nishati safi kwa sekta ya madini. Kulingana na ripoti kutoka kwa statistika ya mwaka 2021, Afrika inakadiriwa kuwa na takriban 30% ya hifadhi ya madini yaliyopo kote duniani, ikichangia 22% ya uzalishaji wa madini ya dhahabu kote duniani. Kupata taswira kamili kuhusu swala hili, naungana naye mwanahabari wa BBC Peter Wakaba kutoka kitengo cha biashara. Wakaba, karibu sana katika Mitikasi Leo. Sekta ya uchimbaji wa madini barani ilikuwa imeanza kuimarika, lakini baada ya COVID-19 labda sekta hii iko vipi na ukizingatia msukosuko wa Ukraine na Urusi?
Kuna masuala mawili. Kwanza kabisa, kwa sababu ya janga hilo la COVID tuliweza kushuhudia kwamba